Hello everyone, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello! Where's my chat box? Why is it hidden? How's it going everyone? How's your Sunday been? Just sorting something out and gosh, I'm ready to rock and roll. Happy days everyone. Welcome. Hope you're good. Hope you've had a good weekend. Hope your Sunday's treated you well. Hope you've had a nice roast dinner or takeaway, or you're topped up on the coffee as I am right now. Very, very well needed, because I'm currently surviving on about 3 hours of sleep because the little one decided to be not very nice to us last night. So yeah, no afternoon nap for me, unfortunately, due to socialising with family as well, wanting to see baby. So, but yes. Oh, caffeine. If you haven't tried caffeine yet, guys, you're missing out. You're missing out. It's a lifesaver. Oh, I hope you're well, though. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. Too many people to say hello to now, as always. But yes, big thank you. Hey, Stephen, you watched my video from yesterday. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed kind of like my initial reaction of qualifying. Got a bit of a backlash from Oscar Piastri fans, evidently. As yeah, it seems it doesn't matter who you criticise in F1 now, there will always be those who come right back at you. But hey ho, I'm going to say what I think. You're happy, I'm happy for you to disagree with me, of course you can, but just please use kind of logical responses, really. Leclerc win, Norris second, and Sainz third with poor start. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, we're going to wait, obviously, just a few more minutes until we get into our strategy options for today. I really hope what Pirelli have suggested isn't true. Make of that what you will. I am kind of taking what Pirelli suggests now with a pinch of salt, as we have seen throughout the duration of this season. But hopefully this doesn't come to fruition, and hopefully we have an interesting race, because Mexico is always a bit boring. So hopefully we have some safety cars, some breakdowns with this high altitude, with the stress being put on the cars and the engines. So yeah, fingers crossed for that, guys. It will be interesting to see what strategy Red Bull have for Verstappen. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, very interesting that he was that quick yesterday, but there was a lot remaining in that power unit. But of course, a couple of laps is very different to a 71 lap race or 70 lap race that we have here today. So yeah, we'll see. If Leclerc wins, it's a one-stop, right? I don't know, not necessarily. Of course, there's a very long run down into turn one. We've seen drama down there before. It is kind of a track where a lot is going to be put on the line in regards to turn one. There's going to be some risks taken, I think, no doubt, by some of those in the top four, because of just how this race, a majority of it has been won from pole position. But third place, interestingly, guys, which Lando Norris has started in, last 3 out of the 4 races that we've had here has been won from third place. So interesting stat there, interesting stat. If it's boring, then Dad is allowed to have a Sunday nod off. Thank you, FR. Thank you. Do I think Lawson could have beaten Tsunoda if it hadn't been for the crash of Tsunoda yesterday? I mean, I really don't know. His first sector was a couple of attempts slower than Yuki. Maybe he would have recovered that time in the second sector and it all would have been about the last. I really don't know. I think, to be honest, they look like they've been a bit neck and neck. That's from what I've seen in qualifying yesterday and kind of practice. So yeah, the race is obviously where it's at, so we'll see how that inter-team battle gets on throughout today. There's still, even though of course we're focusing up top with the championship battle and the race win, there's still a number of storylines going on here Of course, we need to keep an eye on Oscar Piastri's progression today. Sergio Perez, of course, they're both starting in the bottom 5. We'll see if they can make plenty of overtakes. Lando Norris did go from 18th to 5th last year, so there's potential for Piastri to do the same. Yeah, there's of course the Haas battle with the RB cars as well for points. So yeah, we'll see how they get on there. Evening everyone, yeah, evening guys, evening. You're watching me as the missus is on Sky Sports Cricket again. I'm good, Gavin. As I said, just a little bit tired, but I've woken up now. I've been watching football most of this afternoon with the family. Had kind of like the uncles and aunts and uncles come round today to see the baby. So yeah, bit of a busy afternoon socialising, which was good fun. But I survived. She didn't treat us too well last night. gave me about 3 hours sleep in total. So I haven't been able to have an afternoon nap because of that socialising. But I've got the coffee. So when's the race start? Have a look at the big timer in the middle of your screen. That'll tell you when the race starts. Evening, McKay. Good to see you. Good to see you. So the formation is on. The formation lap will happen at the start. So I mean, they're making their way around to the grids at the moment, which the data used to go live for, but it doesn't anymore. So we can't see them making their way down to their grid spots. But we're just going to wait a few more minutes, guys, and for those of you to filter in, and then we'll have a look at the strategy options, the tyre allocation for those today. We'll have a look at race pace that has been calculated based upon the long runs that we've seen in the practice sessions, and of course the all-important pit stop lost time, and if we have a safety car here, and what the chances of a safety car is at Mexico. You've been sleeping most of the day, so you're all set. All right for some. All right for some. Going to call it T9. 2 cars crashing. Most likely someone turning into George, or at least by admission, so that Bottas gets P10. You're really rooting for Bottas. I respect it. I respect it. Do I think there will be enough cars between Lando and Max to hype us again? No. I really don't. I really don't. I really thought if Lando was on pole position, maybe. But I think if... he needed Oscar Piastri. So this is the whole reason why I said Oscar Piastri is not a good teammate. Because he isn't a good teammate. Because he is not helping Lando Norris. Now, there's no obligation kind of for him to be a good teammate other than helping his team win the Constructors, of course. And him being under contract. But whenever he performs well, he's taking points off of Lando. And whenever he performs badly, he's not taking points off of Max, and he's finishing down in the points. He's finishing behind Max, and Max always finishes like a position behind Lando. So that's why I said he's a bad teammate. It's similar to kind of what Valtteri Bottas did in 2021 as well. He was never there helping Lewis Hamilton and putting his car in between Lewis and Max when Lewis was winning races and Max came second. And that's what Oscar Piastri is not doing now. So yeah, that's like, if you want a teammate to help you, that's the worst teammate to have. Someone to take points off of you, and then when you do well, not to take points off of your championship rival. So, what do I think Max's chances are of winning? I don't think they're very high, Karam. I think Max is more focused on Lando today. Really, the Red Bull's race pace is unknown because of just... the only data we've really got is from Sergio Perez, which for Max Verstappen is not really that relative, as we know. 2 very different talents and 2 very different drivers getting different levels of performance out of that Red Bull car. So, yeah, we'll have a look at the race pace data at the moment. It does look like Red Bull's 3rd fastest, and with that older power unit, will they have to turn it down at some point throughout the duration of this race? We will see. So I think for him, it's mainly his fight is just every single race. His fight is with Lando. That's it. He needs to cover off Lando, and the average amount of points that Lando needs per race at the moment, as it stands, is 11 points. So if Max can keep that points difference below 11, so if he finishes 1 or 2 positions behind Lando today, if Lando doesn't win, that is, then that points difference, or that average amount of points that he needs in the remaining race weekends increases. So that's all that Max needs to do. Perez is done after this race, Leo. He's got to the end of the season, let's be honest. I think it really... The ball is very much in Liam Lawson's court now, I think. Look, it'd be great to see Yuki have an opportunity. He's supposedly going to get a test in the Red Bull car after the season finishes, but they don't see him as a Red Bull driver. They see him as a Honda driver, and they're looking at Lawson, aren't they? So, hopefully Sainz is first. Well, he's definitely the driver to beat, Danica, but the problem for Sainz is that it's a very long run down into turn 1. So we'll see how he copes with that. He may still have the pace, even if he loses P1, but we'll see. We'll see. I think Ferrari, especially Carlos, are going to run away with this one, hoping Charles can strategically get into P2. Yeah, maybe it's kind of roles reversed to what we had at Kota last week. Ferrari definitely look strong. I thought McLaren were a bit, were actually the fastest team, but it looks like they're not. But we now have 500 of you here in the stream. We have just over half an hour until this race begins. Should we have a look at the strategies? Let's go. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, and let's have a look here. So, as you can see, we have... What's just happened there? What have I just done? Hang on a second. Trying to move that over. We have, guys, as you can see, a lot of one-stop options here. That's not what we want to see here today. Hell no. We want to see a two-stopper at least. But Mexico, unfortunately, last year it did seem like it was going to be a two-stopper, but it ended up being a one-stopper. Even with them basically reducing the level of tyre compound that we have this year, we're a step softer. So last year the C4 was the soft, the C3 was the medium. This time around, of course, we're on the softest level of compound tyre that we can have, and it's still showing by Pirelli that the one stop is probably optimal. We'll see if the two stopper is worth it, but we've seen in the past that it's difficult to overtake here. A tyre delta isn't really that important. It's more so track position is key. So we may see the undercut. I mean, we'll see if McLaren, they like to do the overcut. So if Lando isn't in P1 off the start, we'll see if he goes long. But interesting to see what tyres people decide to start on. Are they going to start on the soft? Are they going to start on the medium? We'll see. Starting on the soft could be beneficial, getting that launch off the line and getting a good start and run down into turn 1, which, as we just said, track position is key. Or maybe they decide to go for the medium. But yeah, with the dirty air here and with how hot it can get, we do see bigger gaps more than normal because they try to call the car, of course. So. There's whispers coming through. There was a meeting of Red Bull Brains Trusty after qualifying. What for? It's mad how there's such a crazy gap between the RB19 last year and RB20 in terms of dominance and relative speed. Yeah, there's a lot of theories behind that, Karam. There's a lot of theories behind that we've discussed. Taco, good to see you, mate. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Steve-O, I am very well, thank you. Hope you're good. Leclerc or Norris to preserve their tyres better. Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, safety car option here. I mean, the potential of a safety car here is a bit higher than some, which we'll have a look at in a second. So, yeah, maybe those running long will be hoping for that safety car so that they can get a cheap pit stop and gain track position. Hope for some soft, medium, two-stop action. That's fingers crossed for Joe. That's fingers crossed for us. I'm not streaming on Twitch, Lifeless. No. Twitch is a little bit weird with the copyright of this, I've seen, of these watch-alongs. So to ensure that there's no disruption on the YouTube end, I'm not multi-streaming there. So that's kind of for the sim racing side of things. Right, tyre allocations, guys. Tyre allocations. So Max Verstappen, again, has 2 brand new sets of mediums available to him. So in regards to tyre selection, he is definitely ahead or in a better position than those around him, because everyone else, ignoring Sergio Perez because he's starting at the back of the grid, which is why he has new softs available, as well as Oscar Piastri. The rest of those around him, the Mercedes, the Ferraris, and Lando Norris, all have 1 brand new set of mediums and 1 used set of mediums. So that, if it's a 2-stopper, I'm not sure if we would see 2 sets of mediums be used. Maybe that'll be beneficial if there's a safety car or a couple of safety cars. That's probably where that will come into use. But if it is a 1-stop, as they're suggesting, then you only need 1 set of hards and 1 set of mediums, or maybe 1 set of used, which they're then all on basically a level playing field with a set of with no new sets available to them. And as we move further down the grid there, that is it basically. The Verstappen and Perez are the only drivers who don't have a brand new set of mediums available. Stroll and Alonso always like to scrub off a set of new hard tyres, and Bottas and Zhou seem to have done the same as well. So yeah, that's nothing really too much to take into note there. I'm just hoping that it does become a 2-stop and not a 1-stop. Hey Gordon, good to see you, mate. Yeah, we're all hoping for an exciting race. My bar is very low. It's very low here for Mexico, I will say. So hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised because that bar is very low. Can Haas get double points today? I think so, Jugu. Last week wasn't actually K-Mag's fault. Last week K-Mag had to pit due to a slow puncture, I think, that Haas saw. So a real shame for him because he would have finished ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, it seems. Right, so that is basically it in regards to strategy. Let's just all have our fingers crossed, guys, for a 2-stop race or some safety cars. But let's have a look at the race pace, shall we? So this is per data gathered by long runs on the practice days. Of course, maybe a little bit skewed because of what we saw with the Pirelli tyre test in FP2. We did have FP1 and FP3, of course, but Ferrari seemed to be the fastest team, the team to beat. McLaren, Lando Norris did kind of indicate that in interviews after qualifying yesterday, but Ferrari do seem to be the team to beat, and are going to be a tough to do so. But McLaren aren't that far behind, so maybe Lando's being a bit harsh on himself, and maybe should have more belief in that McLaren. I do think this race win today is primarily between Ferrari and McLaren, even with Max starting in P2, because I just think with that power unit, older power unit that Max has switched to, and due to just the Red Bull, they struggled a little bit in the race last week. It was only due to really Max defending very well and saving his tyres for Lando Norris that he was able to hold him off. Of course, played the mind games with Lando, as we know, but at Mexico, that he might not be able to do the same there, and he might fall off, especially if Lando gets ahead of him in the first couple of laps. Mercedes, well, we know, I think this Mercedes is going to have a similar race to what Ferrari had a couple of years ago, I think in 2022, where they were just in no man's land, and they'll probably just turn the engines down. Lewis has basically been quoted already saying that this is going to be a big test session, pretty much, for Mercedes, which is really, really sad for the team and for Lewis Hamilton. And then you can see the massive gap there between Haas, Aston, Alpine, RB, Williams and Sauber. Interesting that RB's pace is where that is, so far behind Haas. I'm not sure if I subscribe to that, but this is upon data we've seen in FP1 and FP3, where we don't necessarily see all of the team's hands shown. So I expect a good battle between Haas and RB, and we'll keep an eye out on that today. And of course Alpine, will Gasly be able to actually stay in the top 10 this week, where he fell to the wayside last time at Kota? So but here we go, safety car, guys, safety car. Fingers crossed for safety cars. I think we need it here today. Weather is 0% chance of rain. Green flag, 22-second pit loss time. That is the gap you are looking for in the intervals between drivers, most particularly in the kind of top 5, top 6, shall we say, in regards to them pitting out in some clean air, getting ahead of that midfield. Safety car, it is a 10-second pit stop or time advantage if you pit under the VSC or the safety car there. So that is massive. That is massive. So a perfectly timed pit stop, pitting under the safety car or the VSC, can make you up a considerable amount of places. But you can see there, in the last 8 years we've been racing here at the Mexico Grand Prix, we have had 86% of those races. So I'm pretty sure that's almost 7 out of the 8 years we have had a VSC. 40, just under 50% is the safety car. So still quite a high percentage of there being a safety car, and the red flag, I think it looks like it's come out like once. So yes, a higher possibility of, or a higher possibility of some incidents and maybe some breakdowns in a safety car because of the nature of this circuit, of how much of a high altitude it is, and it's difficult to overtake. So we see maybe a little bit more desperation from some of the drivers in trying to force an overtake. So yeah, we'll see, guys, we'll see. So fingers crossed it is a good race, low expectations, But yeah, we really kind of need this to be a 2-stop race, and I'm really hoping that it pans out to be that way. Max will take the win and wrap up the championship, unfortunately. I think if he finishes ahead of Lando regardless, championship's over with. Even with 4 race weekends remaining, with 2 of those being sprint weekends, I do think championship's over and done with, because then that average goes further out, and you're asking Lando to make up a points difference per weekend of over 12 points, which is just like ridiculous. I mean, the championship is definitely out of your hands. It's in Max's hands and Red Bull's hands in regards to ensuring they just score points, and that there's DNFs, which for the top teams is very rare now these days. Very rare. So you sure there'll be a safety car? Fingers crossed, Stephen. Yuki crashed because he was pushing too hard because Liam is too close, but I'm a Kiwi, so we know which camp you lay in, Warwick. Yeah, no, he was pushing. He was pushing. It was just an error from Yuki yesterday, running on that curb on the entry to turn 12 on the outside. That curb has caught a few drivers out in practice this week, with it being quite bumpy. So we've seen drivers, because of that, because the left rear kind of comes off the ground, because of those bumps, the car locks up, and that's what happened to Yuki. So don't like seeing Danica in your GP. Yeah, Naomi's been missing for a while, isn't she? Maybe she's just been on holiday. She does do a lot, so maybe she's just been on holiday. I don't think there's been any news in regards to her not having her contract renewed. But I am surprised to see Danica back. Not because of any political beliefs and so forth. If that, I don't really care about that, really. I care about whether or not you're a good pundit and you're informative and you relay your information well. And I feel like she falls down in that department. So that's just my personal opinion, and I think there's better people out there to do the job in her stead, and that's basically it. Morning from New Zealand, Danny, cheering on Liam. Yeah, we'll see how he gets on, starting P12, so lining up alongside his teammate. We know that really Liam's aim is just to beat Yuki, likewise Yuki to beat Liam. There could be them starting side by side, heading down into turn 1, could get tasty, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Danica usually does the North American races. Yeah, she used to. I mean, yeah, but then there's been a couple where she hasn't. So she did appear actually in some of the European races, wasn't she, in Austria? I think a few people made the comment of, "Hang on a second, I thought she was only sticking to the American races." You're pretty sure Esteban Ocon's fastest lap at Kota was the first of his career? Really? Well, I know Ocon doesn't have the new upgrades. Understandably, he's leaving the team. He is actually starting from the pit lane today, Esteban Ocon. He's the only driver, as far as I am aware, that will be starting from the pit lane and has taken any penalties. So, yeah, how much that will actually help Esteban Ocon, I don't think it will help him so much. I think like he's just, Alpine will be using this as a test session again, most likely. So, welcome, Yanela. You're new here. Welcome, welcome. Always welcoming new people. Andy, have a look at the timer on screen, buddy. That will tell you when the race is beginning. But yes, guys, that is basically it. That is the strategy options for today. I think we will see some drivers start on the soft compound tyre. I think the soft is actually doing... I think it actually is looking a bit of a better tyre than people are expecting it to be, even though it is the softest level of compound. The medium, I think, is what we'll see maybe most teams start on. But I wonder if anyone up front will start on the soft and try and get that extra launch at the start, as we said, with track position being key. I'm really hoping it's this one. I really hope we got the two-stopper here today. But, yeah, we will see. Even if we don't get that two-stopper, let's at least get a couple of safety cars. Let's not go for one, let's go for two and make this race intriguing, guys. All right. My clocks have gone back, Stephen. Yes, they have gone back. Don't worry. I am on time. I am on time. I'm the best with commentary. Thank you, Ferrari. That's appreciated. How do I make F1 a sport more exciting when there's rarely any overtakes in top 2 positions? So what you do, Cosmics, is that you pick circuits where you know there's going to be good racing. You remove circuits where there is a little chance of overtaking. You remove the copious amounts of street circuits that we now have on the calendar, and we put back in traditional race circuits like Hockenheim, like Sepang, those sort of circuits where we know good racing happens, and not have races like Mexico. I hate to say it as well, but Zandvoort, and there's other circuits, but I can't think off the top of my head right now. Thank you for the sub, Paul. Where basically they're there for their destination and driver tracks because of the support that Max, Checo get, and they don't provide good racing. They're there for a business sense, basically. So Monaco, I don't like Monaco. I really don't. Obviously, it's all about the qualifying. I get it from a driver's perspective that it is massively challenging, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's it's only there because it's been there for so long. That's literally it, and because it does bring in a shed. I think it still brings in quite a shed load of cash for F1, even though Monaco don't pay. I think they're the only track where the state or they don't get the F1 don't get a fee. But yeah, because it is so historic, that's why it's still there. If it was a newer race circuit, it would have been gone after a couple of seasons after realising how little amount of racing occurs there. Well, racing, wheel-to-wheel racing, in F1 at least, occurs there. Other series have shown that they can go racing there if they're slightly a bit slower and the cars are a bit smaller. But with F1, unfortunately, with how big they are and how quick they are, yeah, it's not a good place to go racing. Right, just setting up the data, guys, and we're ready to rock and roll. Yeah, we spoke about the Indian GP yesterday. I thought it was a good race circuit, but you guys informed me. I knew it was for financial reasons that the circuit was no more, or the race was no more. The Indian government decided to slap a big, massive tax on the race, an entertainment tax. So that's why, unfortunately, yeah, F1 doesn't go there anymore, which is a real shame. It is a real shame. Turkey is another track that we should have. We should still be going to Turkey. What a circuit that is as well. But unfortunately, we know money makes F1 go round, or makes cars in F1 go round, you know? American timing sucks. I know it does. Well, look, we do have it quite well, though, don't we, here in India and kind of the rest of the world when it comes to timings. Most of the time, it's nicely positioned in the middle of the European day, so... Right, I think... Hang on, let's just move that back up there. I might need to move that out there. Hang on. Just setting this up. How do we do this? There, and then I can move that. There. Bosh. There we go. Ready to rock and roll, guys. Ready to rock and roll. Actually been to MotoGP recently, conducted in India, and also might race next season too. Oh, wicked. F1 need to do some work with the schedule to make less carbon footprint. Man, it's doing North America. I mean, it is better, but yeah, last season was terrible in regards to that. Get Sepang back immediately. Yep, I agree. I just think that's how you make F1 racing better, really. And stop changing the regulations so regularly. That's the problem as well, is that we get to a point where there's an eventual convergence of multiple teams being kind of on top of each other in regards to racing, like we are now. And what are we going to do? We're then going to change to new regulations in 2026. I still don't think 2026 will happen in regards to new regs. I think it will be maybe delayed. I think every new set of regulations has always been delayed by a year. So I think it's a tall order for 26, but we'll see. We'll see. No, I'm probably not the best person to send a schedule to. But Americans feel the same way when we have to watch European races. Exactly, John Boy. Exactly. So, I mean, think about Australians. They really have it. They really don't have it good. Oh, risk of rain is 20%. So that's different than the weather report that we saw. So interesting there, guys. Interesting. Please show the points where the mark is for the sectors. There isn't any sector markers on this, unfortunately, Peter. I wish there was. There isn't yet. It is a feature that has been requested, so hopefully it gets added, because I'd love to see that as well. What we can see is the unnecessary marshal posts. But I don't want to show that because it just clutters the track map, so we only have corners. But if you want to know where the sectors are, I can give you a rough indication of where the sectors are. So the first sector, of course, is down the main straight, and is basically up to the entry of turn 4. So that is where the first sector is. The second sector includes turn 4 all the way through just before turn 12. And then the last sector is basically corners 12 all the way to turn 17 to the start-finish line. So only 3 sectors here. Multi-viewer, this is Karam, multi-viewer. We should have Malaysia, Turkey, Germany, and the French Grand Prix back and get... the only problem with the French Grand Prix is I don't think Magny-Cours is a great circuit either, if he was to go back to France, and the other circuit as well, which I can't remember what it is, but it looks like a car park. Until you met me, wow. Pleasure. No, thank you guys for tuning in to this stream as always for these race watch-alongs. I really appreciate the support as always. We have over 1,000 of you already before the race even begins. Just over 13 minutes until we get the formation lap underway. At the moment, the poll of who do you think will win the Mexico Grand Prix? Out of the top 4 drivers, I only have 4 options available to choose from. So I've chosen the top 4 as the 2 Mercedes starting in 5th and 6th don't look like they're going to be really at the races today, even if they do get a good start. 36% for of you Sainz, 26% say Verstappen, 20% say Norris, and Leclerc 18%. I think that's the most kind of evenly split. It's not even, but you know what I mean, like across all 4 options. I think we've seen this season. Normally there's a couple of drivers that at least take the majority of the vote, but a lot of faith in Leclerc even starting from 4th place, Lando Norris starting in 3rd, where actually that position, the last 3 of the last 4 races has actually won the race here at Mexico. So yeah, everyone kind of thinks everyone thinks as the top 4 is how it's going to finish. So interesting. Paul Ricard, that's it, Paul Ricard. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Paul Ricard. Race start at perfect 9 AM on a public holiday here in New Zealand. Lovely, perfect way to start the day. They must bring South Africa. They are trying, Rudy. They are trying. I think Johannesburg is where they're going to end up going, but was it Johannesburg? I think it was Johannesburg. But unfortunately, that fell through because of money again. I think the promoter couldn't prove that they could get the funding necessary to support the race. So that's what happened there. It's multi-viewer, Gordon, multi-viewer. So it is a free service, multi-viewer, but you do require a F1 TV subscription to use it. So why'd they get rid of Paul Ricard? I think funding again. I think the contract came to an end. And look, F1. I mean, Liberty Media really do charge a lot to host an F1 race. I mean, there was even talk of Silverstone not being able to host an F1 race. I think it was last year, 2 years ago, when the contract was being renewed, because of how much they wanted. But you can't lose Silverstone. That's where the first F1 race was ever conducted. So historic. And look, it's one of the tracks, regardless of me being British, it is one of the tracks where we always get very good racing. Increment weather there, of course, with the typical British weather in the summer. So there's certain tracks that I just don't think we should lose. Spa, another one of them. Monza, of course. Where else should we not lose traditional tracks that we go to? Red Bull Ring, I think. I really do like the Red Bull Ring. I think that, regardless of the name, it really does provide great racing. And it's a real shame that we don't have a German track on the circuit at the moment either. Like Suzuka, we should never lose Suzuka. Canada as well, I think, always throws up a decent race. Where else can I say? Interlagos as well, which we head to next week. Like, Interlagos should 100% be the last race of the season. Like, it's always been a banger whenever we've had that as a last race of the season. But of course, money talks. If Lando starts, they fill me with confidence winning from P3. Yeah, we'll see. The problem for Lando is that he has Max Verstappen in front of him. And of course, Carlos Sainz isn't going to be a... It's definitely a good place to be. we know it's very similar to Sochi, this circuit, where starting on the second row is actually sometimes preferential than it is starting on the front row. After being born in Northamptonshire, I would hate to see Silverstone go, as I haven't been there yet. Silverstone, I highly recommend anyone get there, even if it's a support series or they have like GT cars go around there every now and then as well. It's a track that's brilliant. I think the WEC is not the World Endurance Championship, but the supporting series of the World Endurance Championship, the ELMS. That is the Endurance Le Mans series. That is going back to Silverstone, I think, next year. Have a look at tickets for practice. You'll still see like GT cars and LMP cars, and it's just great to see. Great to see high downforce cars in particular go around that circuit. It's a real joy to see. If I had to choose a track in the UK with one, what would it be? Silverstone. Love Silverstone. So, is the mic okay, guys? Someone said mid cutoff. Is the mic okay? Hopefully it still is. I might actually just take it out and put it back in again, because we've had a couple of issues recently with the mic, so just bear with me 2 seconds. How's that? Is that okay? Are we okay? All good? I think we are. Let me know if levels are okay, guys. Thank you for the subs, guys. Much appreciated, Emily. Sloan recently, and those of you who have been subscribing. Everyone I know uses a USB mic, has issues. I always use. Yeah, it's just easy using a USB mic, really, rather than using like a Go XLR and so forth. It jumped for about 2 seconds, but all good. Happy days, guys. Happy days. So not long to go. Under 10 minutes. It's just over 7.5 minutes until we start this Mexico Grand Prix order formation lap at least. Update on the vote. Still 36% say Sainz. Max Verstappen's gone up a little bit. 27%. Lando Norris 20. Charles Leclerc 17. I'm still going to go for a Lando win. I'm still backing Lando. I think he's going to win this. I think it's going to be close with the Ferraris. Max Verstappen, I think we'll finish P4. Do you know what? I'm going bold, actually. Fuck it. Why not? DNF for Max Verstappen. The engine's going to give up and he's going to have to retire. Championship back on. Why not? Why not? You know the way Sainz said in an interview that he has less to lose compared to the other drivers around him. Nice tactical mind games. Yes, that could play a factor as well. Bold. It is bold. I like to go bold. The green tractor isn't last. I know. Zhou's been upgraded to P19 due to Ocon starting from the pit. So where do you think? Let's see, guys. Where do you think? Yeah, Oscar Piastri is going to get to. Where do you think he's going to get to? Do you think he's going to finish in the top 5? Do you think he's going to finish in the top 10? Do you think he's going to not even make it into the top 10? Let me know where you guys think. Bearing in mind, Lando Norris did make it, started in 18th last year and did make it into P5. Gordon thinks P5. Ordained thinks P7. P8, P7, P5, P7. Piastri 8. So a lot of you have faith he's going to get into like the lower half of the points. Do we think he can get ahead of the Mercedes? That's the question. Do you think he'll finish ahead of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell? Or do you think he'll split them? Where do you think he can do that? I hope it rains the last 10 laps. It's, well, 20% chance. Who knows? Who knows? Track temperature 38.6 degrees. Humidity 52%. You never know. It would definitely spice things up. If Merc has bad stops, then yes, Phoenix. Yeah, that's pretty much true. Yeah. Piastri P6. I think he might be in between 5 and 7, and no, he can't pass the Mercs. Few of you think it. Leo, thank you for the 5 Canadian, thank you. Verstappen and Norris take each other out on the first turn. Oh, imagine. It wouldn't be good for the championship if that did happen, but it's always possible. It's always possible that Carlos Sainz takes out Max Verstappen. As we just mentioned, Sainz has nothing to lose. He's hoping to at least end this season with a race win. So, yeah. on his way out of Ferrari, so this could be the last time we see him on pole position for a very long time as he's heading to Williams, or maybe the last time in his F1 career. There's no guarantee Carlos Sainz will end back in a team that can qualify on pole position, so this could be the last time we see Carlos Sainz on pole. That's a crazy thing to say, isn't it? If other teams have bad pit stops and Haas have a good race, then one might get P3 or P4. I think for Piastri to finish somewhere up in the podium positions, he needs a red flag, to be perfectly honest with you, so that he's like gains track position by the red flag and a red flag restart. But yeah, we'll see. Norris has that after you approaching race starts. Yeah, Charles sneak on the podium. I mean, look, Charles likes fourth place. He got into first after T1 last week. There's a high possibility that happens again here. We've seen 3 wides into turn 1 before. Last year, Sergio Perez out at the first corner. He started P4, I believe it was. And we know with this racing rule that's been clarified, Carlos Sainz, if Max tries to go around the outside of Carlos Sainz and Sainz is ahead at the apex, I think you can be guaranteed Carlos Sainz is not going to show Max any sort of opportunity there. That is for sure. Max upgrades haven't worked, so of course they'll be overtaken by Piastri and Prey. Who think Max and Lando crash today? I don't know. I don't think they'll crash. I don't think so. We'll see. We'll see. How do you become a member of the channel, Ian? If you hit the join button on your mobile device or on your desktop device, there is an option to join there. There's a couple of levels. You have the basic level, the medium level, and yeah, that's how you can join. I think it's through PayPal and stuff. But yeah, £2 English or £1.99 actually. That extra penny makes all the difference. But here we go, guys. Here we go. Tyre blankets are off, and no one is starting on the soft compound tyre. Everyone started on the medium in the top 10. Yuki Tsunoda is starting on this medium. Lawson starting on the hard, so a split strategy there for the 2 RB cars. Maybe quite a smart move from the RB team there. Alonso and Stroll both starting on the mediums. Bottas, Colapinto going on the hards, running long. Piastri on the mediums. So he's got the belief in his car that he can make positions up even at a circuit that it's difficult to overtake. You would suspect he would in that McLaren. Perez starting on the hard compound, so he's going to go long. It's the only really opportunity for Sergio Perez here to try and go long and make up any sort of positions here and have a good result at his home circuit. Possibly his last ever home race, because, well, there needs to be probably double, triple the amount of money that his benefactors are giving to Red Bull right now. No, I can't show video. Please do not spam the channel. I cannot show a video for copyright reasons. I'd like to keep how long Red Bull can keep their tyres live. Yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing. How is Stuffeyy and Mrs. Stuffeyy? They're doing very well, Smokey. Thank you. Doing very well. Dusko, didn't get a chance to say hello these days. Too busy. My poll, betting companies are again going to make a lot of money. Only 36% size. I know. But interesting. Right, so I'm going to end the poll. And, well, over 1,600 votes and 35% of you think Carlos Sainz is going to win this race. He definitely looks the man to beat after those amazing quality laps yesterday. Max Verstappen, 26%. I'm surprised there's a lot of faith in Max, even with that old power unit. I mean, really, their race pace, their long pace is pretty unknown, and how they manage these tyres is an unknown as well. Max had hardly any running in practice and wasn't able to do any long runs. The only data they've got is from Sergio Perez, and how relevant that data is from Perez, we don't know. We know that he can't go the same pace as Max. So, yeah, we will see. Norris 20% and Charles Leclerc 17%. So yeah, I think any one of those could win the race today. So we'll see. But I am hoping for a 2-stop strategy, guys. But we are 26 seconds away from this formation lap getting underway. It's the last time now to get yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack, go to the toilet, because the formation lap is about to get underway for this Mexican Grand Prix. Hey Tom, good to see you, mates. You still like it here, man? Thank you for choosing this watch along, buddy. You're joining the channel, but you're broke, Gordon. I appreciate you here, be it regardless. And if you can subscribe to the channel, if you haven't done so already, it is much appreciated. Hitting that like button and getting this stream to over 1,000 likes shows me that you're enjoying this content. And yeah, thank you for choosing this channel once again for another F1 race car. This is the 20th race of the season. How have we hit 20 races already this year? Only 4 race weekends remaining. Technically speaking, the championship for the world drivers is still up for grabs. But, of course, Max Verstappen does look to be in control. But with that old power unit, how will he handle it today? Will it last in this high-altitude race here at Mexico? 2,200 metres above sea level. They've reduced the DRS here this weekend. Not entirely sure why down that main straight. So that may make overtaking a little bit more difficult. So I do think we need some assistance in some breakdowns, some safety cars for this race to be intriguing. But my hopes are low, my expectations are low, in the hope that we are pleasantly surprised. So here we are, guys. Let's get ready. 3,000 of you here in the stream. Thank you very much. Let's run through this starting grid before they make it way down to their their start boxes. We have Carlos Sainz on pole position, continuing his great form from last week here at the Circuit of the Americas. Brilliant lap from him yesterday. 2 laps actually from him. Both of his laps were fast enough to put it on pole position. So let's see if Carlos Sainz, who has kind of nothing to lose, how bold and aggressive he is going to be down that run to turn 1. Max Verstappen in P2, a great qualifying from him, out qualifying Lando Norris and getting another one over his championship rival. We'll see how Lando Norris responds today in P3, where the last 3 out of 4 races have been won from. Leclerc in P4, let's see if he could do another 4th to 1st in the first corner. The Mercedes, who might have a lonely race today, in 5th and 6th, way off the pace of those top 4. Magnussen looking for points this weekend. A real shame for him last week in Kota, and Haas hoping for double points with Hülkenberg starting in 10th. Gasly, those upgrades are definitely working for the Alpine in PA. Albon needs a good performance here, of course. A poor start to his weekend, but a good qualifying yesterday. Tsunoda in 11th after crashing. They've repaired that RB car. He started on the medium while Lawson starts on the hard in 12th. Alonso and Stroll in 13th and 14th. Bottas, a good qualifying from him in 15th. Colapinto, poor day from him yesterday. Let's see how he can do here in his first Mexican Grand Prix in 16th. Piastri and Perez in 17th and 18th. We know the story behind their days yesterday. Let's see how many positions they can make up. Zhou in 19th. And Esteban Ocon is starting in the pit lane after taking some new power unit parts, battery, etc. So here we go, guys. Not long. Let's see who's going to lead down into turn 1. Let's turn off the race timer. It is only moments away until we get here. Let's take a last swig of water. Make sure the voice and the vocal cords are lubricated. I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's go. Let's go. Zhou Guanyu lining up at the back of the grid here. Esteban Ocon is waiting patiently at the end of the pit lane. Everyone starting on the medium compound tyre. No soft runners. Here we go, guys. Zhou Guanyu is lined up at the back. It is moments away until the Mexican Grand Prix is underway. Who's going to lead down into turn 1? It's going to be interesting. It could get very, very messy, and green light, away we go. Carlos Sainz has got a good start. Let's see who leads, as Max Verstappen is already ahead of Carlos Sainz. But will Max lead into turn 1? Will Sainz be able to come back? Norris is still in P3. It seems to be a slight delay on the track map as they head down into turn 1. Who has actually come out ahead, as there is a double yellow into turn 1 as Yuki Tsunoda is off, it seems, as there's contact with Yuki and Alex Albon down into turn 1. And oh dear, we do have a yellow flag. Will that be a very early safety car, as Sainz did regain the position from Max Verstappen? And no, he hasn't. Carlos Sainz has lost to Max Verstappen down into turn 4, and Max Verstappen leads the Mexican Grand Prix down into turn 6. We're still yet to see exactly what has happened to Yuki Tsunoda and whether or not they will require a safety car or a virtual safety car. Lance Stroll is up 4 positions. Perez has had a mega first couple of laps. There is a safety car here. There is a safety car, but Perez is up 5 positions into P13. I'm watching the restart, watching the race start, and Max Verstappen got a brilliant start as they both went side by side down into the first corner. Lando Norris got kind of shut out as he was slipstreaming Max Verstappen down into the first corner. Max actually, oh, and big crash for Yuki Tsunoda, as it seems that he got shoved from behind. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but Yuki Tsunoda has been launched straight across the grass into the barriers, and the Williams of Alex Albon has had to pull over as well. Max Verstappen did lead into the first corner, and Carlos Sainz, I think, had to give the position to Max. I was so focused on the crash there, I lost track of really what happened at the front, but it did seem that Yuki Tsunoda just got absolutely shunted from behind. He just went straight on. His front right wheel flew off. Let's see what happens. Potentially, yes, it did look like that Alex Albon, if it is Alex Albon, shunted Yuki Tsunoda from behind. Yuki is okay, thankfully. He is out of the car, but of course not a good start for Yuki. Did he make a good start? That is the question. Bearing in mind, Alex Albon started a couple of positions ahead of him in P9. That would actually only be directly ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, as Alex Albon has pulled off to an escape road as well. So this is a very early safety car. Still yet to see the replay of the race start to see exactly what happened. But if that is Alex Albon's fault, that is a horrendous start to his weekend. So watching the replay now, Yuki Tsunoda is on the right hand side of my screen as we're heading that down, and can't see from that angle what has happened there with Yuki. It seems that there was contact made on the side. Maybe Alex Albon just got shoved out and wedged into Yuki. Still not seen a more sufficient replay to see exactly what has happened there. But yes, that is a big crash, and that'll be probably a few laps until we see the safety car come in. But yes, 2 weekends in a row, guys. 2 weekends in a row that we have had a safety car. Oh, it's like London buses. You wait forever for one, and two come in quick succession or at the same time. But yes, let's have a rundown of the grid as it currently stands. I'm still yet to see the race start of what happened with... I'm still yet to see the race replay from the front because the camera angle actually was more focused on the crash, understandably. So I didn't see really Sainz and Verstappen down into turn one. Sainz actually lost the inside to Max Verstappen, so I'm not sure if he had to give that position up to Max, and whether Max played, of course, to the rules, as he did last week in America with Lando Norris. But Max Verstappen is in P1 from Carlos Sainz. Of course, there is going to be a restart here that Max will have to contend with. Lando Norris actually got a very good start, but was shut out and had nowhere to go, really, as he was down the main straight. Maybe Lando could have been more aggressive and shoved it down the inside. I don't quite know. I'll have to see the replay. It all happened quite fast. Charles Leclerc in P4. Hamilton made a position up on his teammate, George Russell, in P5. Nico Hülkenberg up 2 positions, by the way. The Haas is in 7th and 8th. A great start from them. Gasly has lost a position. So watching the race restart again now from the overhead view. So Carlos Sainz did bog down at the start. Lando Norris and Max Verstappen actually both got very similar starts. Lando didn't have any room to go past Max Verstappen. So yes, Lando definitely didn't have any. And yeah, Max did what he did and was ahead into the apex and had to give the position back to Max. Yeah, so Max playing to the rules once again, and that is it, basically. That is it. So just watching from Yuki Tsunoda's onboard now to see exactly what it is. Hey, Sim, good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. So Yuki Tsunoda gets alongside Alex Albon. Oh, he got ahead of Alex Albon under braking, and I think Alex Albon just moved over, and that's where the tyres interlocked. So I don't think there's really anything wrong with Alex Albon. Alex Albon got shoved into Yuki Tsunoda by Pierre Gasly. So there's nothing really that Alex Albon could do. If he stayed where he was going to get hit regardless by the Alpine. He had to move over to the left slightly. You're talking small margins as Yuki is trying to outbrake Alex Albon around the outside, and that's just really unfortunate from Alex Albon. It is kind of down to him because he made a poor start, but really he got wedged. He just got completely wedged in by Pierre Gasly there. Could Alex Albon have maybe backed out a little bit of it? He kind of did what Yuki was trying to do to him and get past Pierre Gasly under the brakes, but he just got wedged, and that's a real shame for both of those drivers who are out of this race. Great driver, except when he drives the people he's racing off the track and doesn't stay within the white lines himself. So I'm intrigued to see actually if, I mean, Sainz did give the position back to Max. I think it did look like Max was ahead at the apex. I knew this would happen. This is why Sainz had to get a good start and get straight to the inside. We knew it was going to happen, and I don't know why they're going to the rear of Charles Leclerc's car to see exactly what happened here with Yuki Tsunoda. I'd like to see what happened again at the front. But that's just basically a lot happening at the start of a race, of a long run down into the first corner. So yeah, it does look like actually Max Verstappen is ahead down into the apex of turn 1. Ridiculous racing rule, as I've stated many times before. As, oh dear, Sergio Perez under investigation for a false start. Is that why he made up 5 positions at the start there? Please tell me no. Please tell me no. Sergio Perez, please don't tell me you have not made a false start at the start of this race. But yes, guys, if you're just joining us, welcome, welcome. It's been a good... so just watching Sergio Perez... Oh, it's an absolute false start from Sergio Perez. There's no... He's outside his pit box. He's gained an technical advantage. That is a slam dunk penalty for Sergio Perez. That is a slam dunk penalty for Sergio Perez. So, yeah. Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. Yuki Kisubata Perez's seat next year. I mean, it wasn't Yuki's fault. It wasn't Yuki's fault. It was just... Could Alex Albon have maybe done a bit more there in regards to kind of not going for that move on Pierre Gasly? Pierre Gasly kind of moved over. I think that's just a typical racing incident really down at the start and really unfortunate. Maybe Albon didn't know Yuki was coming up his outside. I don't know. Yet to see kind of more replays of on balls to see head movement and so forth of looking in the mirrors. But yeah, it's just one of those really that's really unfortunate that they're both out of this race from the get-go. I told you there'd be a safety car. Yeah, very soon, very soon. Well, we said the first corner is very interesting, but of course there will be no DRS down for this safety car restart. We're still yet to see when that safety car restart is going to happen. As I said, there's quite a bit of debris out on circuit on that run down to turn 1. Yuki's car did finish kind of in a nice position actually towards an escape road, but of course it did break apart quite a bit after that contact was made with Alex Albon. Alex Albon's car should be removed quite simply, as well as he parked up in a safety road area. So we'll see when that's going to be removed. But we'll see how Max Verstappen controls this race restart. Of course, Carlos Sainz is going to want to regain that position as best as he can. Lando Norris, of course, is going to be looking at that as well. So let's see what shenanigans are going to happen on that run down to T1. Once again, Oscar Piastri, interestingly, lost a position to Zhou Guanyu at the start. That's very, very interesting. But Colapinto now really has an opportunity to try and potentially score some points here and put a further now in Alex Albon's coffin, shall we say. Not to say that he has one at the moment, but of course a lot of pressure under Alex Albon. Second time he's crashed this weekend, and that's not a good look for him. Sainz will take Max out for Lando in. When's the safety car going away? Not yet sure. Turn 1 incident reviewed, no further investigation. So they did investigate that turn 1 incident, and yeah, it just looked like a case of... and there's a 5-second time penalty, confirmation error, Sergio Perez, a false start. Unbelievable. He's just made 5 positions up at the start of this race, and now he has a 5-second time penalty to take at the pit stop. So not a good start. It's not a good weekend thus far for Sergio Perez at his home circuit. As Charles Leclerc is reporting that the drink is spilling over his lap right now. So Yuki Tsunoda always have trouble with his temper. It's not really his temper that's the problem there. That was just one of those... Yuki couldn't move any further left. It's a reasonable overtake to go for there. Outbraking Alex Albon around the outside. But what he couldn't, of course, take into consideration was Pierre Gasly moving slightly over and Alex Albon basically getting wedged in between and overtaking Yuki and Pierre Gasly in front of him moving over. So, right. So, Hope you guys are enjoying the stream. Please hit that like button. 481 likes thus far. Surely we can get to 1,000 likes. Safety car in this lap, guys. Hit that like button as we are about to get this Mexican Grand Prix back underway. We have only had half a lap of racing thus far. Max Verstappen is your leader at the moment. Will he be able to maintain that lead back down into turn 1? We will see. Of course, Max Verstappen using the rules to his advantage. Once again, being ahead at the apex and running Carlos Sainz completely out of room. But thankfully for Carlos Sainz, there is a lot of runoff, even though it is grass, through turn 1 and 3 there on that chicane, and he did relinquish the lead back to Max Verstappen. So here we go, not long to find out who is going to lead again down into turn 1. Will we see more shenanigans in that run down to turn 1? We will see. Of course, we are down 2 cars in the form of Alex Albon and Yuki Tsunoda. Oscar Piastri is going to be looking to make up an advantage here as well. Sergio Perez has a 5-second time penalty for that false start. Silly by him, really. Absolutely silly. Colapinto looking to capitalise on the misfortune of his teammates. Liam Lawson, he's got an opportunity here to score some points, gaining a position on Yuki, who has crashed ahead of him as well, and Alex Albon. So let's go. Max Verstappen backing up the pack as they head into the stadium section. Safety car is in. When will Max go? Most likely it will be under the slow corner of turn 14 or turn 16. And there we go. Max is off. Has Carlos Sainz stayed with Max there? It looks like Max has got a good launch, and this could be enough for Max to hold this position without DRS down into turn 1. How long can Carlos Sainz sustain an attack on Max Verstappen? That is going to be key here. We will see. As Sainz is gaining, and interestingly enough, even without DRS there, he gained 2 tenths on Max, but that's really, he needs to be around 3 to 4 tenths behind Max Verstappen out of that stadium section. But it's Max Verstappen leading from Carlos Sainz, from Lando Norris in P3, Charles Leclerc in P4, Hamilton in P5, Russell in 6th, Magnussen in 7th, Hulkenberg in 8th, Pierre Gasly in 9th, Lawson 10th, Stroll 11th, Alonso 12th, Sergio Perez with that 5-second time penalty for that false start in P13, Colapinto 14th, Bottas 15th, Zhou 16th, Piastri 17th, and Ocon 18th. But you can see there already Max Verstappen pulling out a 9/10 lead, over a second now actually, on Carlos Sainz. And of course, clean air is king here, so let's see how Max Verstappen handles this race. How long will his tyres last for? He has won here 5 times already, Max Verstappen. He has won the most amount of races here at the Mexico Grand Prix. So, of course, this is familiar territory for him, being out front. But as we head through the stadium section and through this lap, there was actually no change of positions throughout the duration. Throughout the grid here as they headed down through the stadium section. So Sainz within 1 second of Max Verstappen, but Lando Norris is actually the driver who is putting pressure on the Ferrari, actually, it seems, as they head down into turn 1. DRS will now be activated this lap, no doubt. I'm waiting for that notification to appear. But Max, you can see there, with that clean air, that is king. A 21.4 from him compared to Sainz and Norris, who did a 21.8. So 4 tenths faster in that clean air compared to Sainz and Norris, who were 4 tenths slower. Keep smashing that like button. Yes, please, guys, please hit that like button. Once again, as all the drivers went down into turn 1, pretty much in formation. No overtakes as of yet without DRS. DRS is less effective here, of course, with the altitude that we have here at the Mexico Grand Prix. 2,200 meters above sea level, which means that the air density is considerably lower, which means that the DRS is less effective at this high altitude. Also, the DRS has been shortened this year, a strange decision at a circuit where it is already difficult to overtake. Not entirely sure why that decision has been made, but Carlos Sainz now actually staying within the DRS of Max Verstappen, while Lando Norris has just dropped back slightly there through the second sector. So let's see as they head through turn 14, the stadium section, and turn 16. Let's see if Carlos Sainz can stay close enough to put some pressure on the Red Bull of Max. DRS will be open, and this will be our first indication of how effective this DRS here is here at the Mexico Grand Prix. So Carlos Sainz, he is gaining there, and wow, he's actually gaining quite a bit as he heads down into turn 1. Will he have enough to try and overtake Max down into turn 1? We already know Max, and Sainz is going for a lunge on Max Verstappen down into turn 1. Has he gone around the outside? He's got ahead. They're side by side through the chicane, and Carlos Sainz is ahead of Max Verstappen into turn 1 and turn 3. But Max will come back. He will come back at Carlos Sainz, no doubt, down into turn 4. They're side by side. This is allowing Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc to get involved involved as well. And will Carlos Sainz maintain his position? He lost it at the start of this race, and he has held on to it with the assistance of double DRS down into turn 4. And Sainz has regained the lead of this race from Max Verstappen. He came from quite far back on the Red Bull. And wow, what a move there from Carlos Sainz. First time we had DRS activated, and Sainz made full advantage of it, and we now have the top 4 in a DRS zone. Will Max be able, in a DRS train, but will Max be able to come back at Carlos Sainz down that main straight and regain this lead? And this is what Lando Norris will be hoping for, as I'm watching the move of Carlos Sainz, and he sent it down the inside of Max Verstappen. Max didn't really expect it. Max didn't really expect the move from Carlos Sainz, and I wonder actually if Carlos Sainz actually exceeded track limits through turn 2. We will see if that will be flagged by any means. I'm not sure, it hasn't flagged up, but here we go. DRS activated here. They're all within half a second apart from Charles Leclerc. Will Max go for a move on Sainz, and will Lando Norris also sneak through here? They're neck and neck as they head down into turn 1. Carlos Sainz holds off Max Verstappen just now, but Lando is also poking his nose and hoping to take advantage of Max trying to overtake the Ferrari ahead of him, the 2 championship rivals, and we'll see if how long this battle's going to last for. Will Lando go for a move on Max down into turn 2? He's turn 4. He's gone from the move. Has he been able to maintain the position on Max Verstappen? They're side by side through this couple of corners. Charles Leclerc is also there as well. Who's going to come out ahead? It looks like Max Verstappen will do, or is it going to be Lando Norris still ahead here? They're still side by side as they head through turn 7, and Max Verstappen, has he maintained the lead? And Norris and Verstappen have made contact. Verstappen and Norris have made contact, it seems. They dropped a couple of positions there as Charles Leclerc is now in P2. Unbelievable. Max Verstappen not happy with the move by Carlos Sainz, but it was a great move in my personal opinion, sending it down the inside. It caught Max Verstappen napping, and well, Max has been caught again napping as Lando and Max went side by side, and Charles Leclerc has now once again, 2 weeks in a row, snuck through the battling Red Bull and McLaren of Lando Norris, and now the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton is on the back. I'm just watching the replay of the 2 drivers as Max forced Lando out, and it's another contentious issue with Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Who was ahead at the apex? I have no absolute idea. No doubt that might go to the stewards. We will see. Lando did let Max Verstappen back through, and Max shoved Lando back. Oh my god, it's getting very, very heated between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, as Max Verstappen, while Lando was letting him back through, shoved him off the circuit, and that allowed Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc to get through, and that turn 8 incident involving Verstappen and Norris is being investigated. Oh, the drama. 2 weeks in a row. Oscar Piastri finally gets a pass Valtteri Bottas. And Lando Norris is stating, I was ahead the whole way through. Oh, it's roles reversed. We'll see. It's going to the stewards. We'll see if Max Verstappen has to relinquish that position to Lando Norris. We will see. And this is the pettiness we love to see in F1 after Lando Norris being on the wrong end of the penalty last week, or of the racing rules, shall we say, last week with Max Verstappen, has now decided to fight fire with fire, and we will see if Max Verstappen has to relinquish that position. I have absolutely no idea if Lando was ahead at the apex, because the angle was very difficult to see on the TV coverage, but it is being investigated by the stewards. So I'm watching the replay now as the drivers are on their 12th lap, and we can see that as Norris was ahead of the apex into turn 4 and forcing another driver off the track, Max Verstappen has been noted. Oh my goodness, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris playing Max Verstappen at his own game, as Max Verstappen then sillily, as the rules state and as we expected, sent it down the inside at turn 8 to ensure he was ahead at the apex himself and shoved Lando Norris off the circuit. So this is just the pettiness of these rules, as Sergio Perez, the stupidity of these rules, as that incident is now also being noted there, and this is the ridiculousness of these rules being proven to us right in front of our eyes. So we'll see how the stewards ruled on that as we head on. I'm going to calm myself down as Carlos Sainz is now still in P1 with Charles Leclerc in P2, Max Verstappen in P3 with Lando Norris in P4. We can see that Perez is actually making very good inroads here in the field and is nearly in the points positions. 7 places gained in P11, but does have that 5-second time penalty. We can see there that forcing another driver off the track, turn 4, just reiterating that it is under investigation, Max Verstappen, and this is the ridiculousness of being ahead at the apex rule, because you can just send it and force another driver off the circuit, and well, Max Verstappen did go off the circuit himself in also defending or trying to overtake Lando Norris into turn 8, so in effect that is a fouled overtaking manoeuvre there, whereas Lando Norris did keep it on the racing surface until Max forced him off the track in turn 4. But anywho, Lando Norris is still in P4. Max Verstappen still maintains his position in P3. Lewis Hamilton in P5. George Russell in P6. The 2 Haas in 7th and 8th at the moment, doing very well, with Pierre Gasly staying with the 2 Haas. Actually, Magnussen's doing very well, and he's staying with the 2 Mercedes, actually, as he's pulling away from his teammate. Liam Lawson is in P10, being chased down by Sergio Perez. Alonso is under pressure from Colapinto. Let's see if another rookie can get under the skin of Fernando Alonso and see if he comes on the radio. And there's a 10-second time penalty for Max Verstappen for forcing another driver off the racetrack. Max Verstappen has had his... Oh my goodness, we expected this could happen, and Max Verstappen has had the rules chucked straight back in his face. Lando has played him at his own game, and he has got a 10-second time penalty. Unbelievable. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So, yes, Lando Norris played Max Verstappen at his own game, got ahead at the apex. Max thought he was ahead, and, well, we now have a 10-second time penalty for Max Verstappen. Now, of course, he does have to take that at the pit stop. He is able to maintain his position where he currently is. But if he was to conduct such a mistake again, if Lando tries to get past him out on track, then he will have to... he will have to give, and he will have another 10-second time penalty. Turn 8 is still being investigated as well. I wonder if they'll maybe issue another penalty to Max Verstappen for turn 8. I'm not entirely sure. We will see. Maybe they deem that penalty sufficient, but that was a fouled overtake into turn 8 as well. But wow. We saw, of course, how contentious it was last week in the circuit in Americas. But while this has been happening, the only drivers this has benefited, really, of course, is Lando Norris. But the 2 Ferraris, with Lando Norris currently in P4, no doubt to be promoted to P3, with Oscar Piastri down in P15, they are making inroads into the Constructors' lead by McLaren at the moment. They're currently 48 points behind. And, well, they are going to be less than 30 points behind the McLaren team with 4 race weekends remaining. And could they steal the Constructors' Championship away from McLaren? Absolute scenes if that happens. But let's see. Actually, the 10-second time penalty is for forcing another driver off the race circuit. Hang on, Max Verstappen is being informed of this penalty. Let's see his response. And this is going to be interesting. Max went... very, very interesting. Max went 10. That's interesting. And GP's engineer said, well, there was a lot of whinging. Of course, insinuating Lando Norris's whinging, which... I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, guys, welcome to this stream. If you're just joining us, what a dramatic start to this Mexico Grand Prix. We've already lost Alex Albon and Yuki Tsunoda in the first corner. We then had the race restart of Carlos Sainz regaining his position past Max Verstappen, which Max Verstappen wasn't too happy about. And then, of course, we've just had the drama once again between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, which has resulted with Lando Norris racing to those racing rules finally and getting ahead at the apex, and Max Verstappen misjudged that he was ahead, forced Lando off, and has been given a 10-second time penalty. So we will see how this will affect the race. Fernando Norris, though, he does still need to get past Max Verstappen and, of course, put as many cars between him and Max, who will have that 10-second time penalty. The Mercedes, unfortunately for Lando, aren't really quick enough in this race, where you suspect Max, even with that penalty, will finish ahead of them. He'll have to take that at the pit stop, where they are not able to work on the car for 10 seconds. He needs to try and catch up to the Ferraris if he can, but Lando is now, no doubt, out into that tyre saving mode of 1.4 seconds. As Sainz is stating that Charles Leclerc is taking the mick, honestly. So bit of a needle there between the two Ferraris, but Russell and Hamilton there in P5 and 6, they've switched positions now. Bit of a lonely race for them, but actually Kevin Magnussen is on the back of the two Mercedes, in particular Lewis Hamilton. Kevin Magnussen, oh my days, when did we think we'd see the Haas of Kevin Magnussen of all people try and make a move on or chase down the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton? Dire times for the Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton in that car, where it's not been a good weekend for him. Piastri is now up into P14. An update on him: Sergio Perez is now within DRS of Liam Lawson. Maybe he'll make a move here down into turn 1. Liam Lawson is getting the tow from Gasly ahead, but he won't have DRS. No doubt Lawson won't fight this too hard, as he knows the main team, the seat he's actually trying to vie for, is currently trying to overtake him as they head down into turn 1. So maybe Lawson will try and fight this hard and prove a point. Not that he needs to, as for him it's more about gaining points and fighting Gasly and the two Haases ahead of him. Alonso out. Is Alonso out of this race? Oh no, Fernando Alonso out of this race. And is this our first mechanical retirement? That does look like it, doesn't it? That does look like it. Fernando Alonso has retired at this race before with mechanical issues, so he doesn't particularly like this circuit. Sergio Perez, track limits at turn 2. Charles Leclerc has been told he can race and is told to keep it clean, but at the moment he has dropped back into that 1.5 second tyre saving window. Max Verstappen is dropping back from the two Ferraris, 4 tenths slower last time around on the two Ferraris. And really for Lando Norris, I wonder what his strategy is here. Of course, he will finish ahead of Max Verstappen, but with this late in the season, he needs to try and chase down the Ferraris if he can, but that means he has to pass Max Verstappen ahead of him. Thank you, Smokey. Much appreciated. I'm a Hamilton fan, but Red Bull fan, but I want Norris to win the championship. I just want it to be a championship battle. And you know what? Even if Max does win the championship and it doesn't go down to the last race of the season, how brilliant has the last couple of races been in the F1 season? How pleasantly surprised we have been. And look, it may be that the remainder of this race is a little bit boring. Hopefully not. But we have had a very interesting first 15 laps or so. 54 laps remaining in this Mexico Grand Prix. It is predicted to be a one-stop race. I'm hoping that it will be a two-stop. Who knows? We may see another safety car, especially with how the racing guidelines are at the moment. We've already seen them rear their head in the form of Carlos Sainz overtaking Max Verstappen, and of course Verstappen and Norris going at it as well through the middle sector. It's been fantastic the last few races. I agree. I wonder how they will F up Kevin's race. Hopefully not. As Liam Lawson has regained. Actually, it's a bit of a... Did Liam Lawson just regain a position from Sergio Perez there? I think he did, as Sergio Perez has fallen back a little bit from Liam Lawson. Hopefully Perez doesn't have an issue. Of course, we would like to see him finish this race, but he is falling back from Lance Stroll is now in the DRS of Sergio Perez. And does Sergio Perez have an issue? Was there car contact between Sergio Perez and Liam Lawson? Liam Lawson is going... Sergio Perez is going very slow through the stadium section. He has just lost a second and a half, well, more than a second over Liam Lawson. He's 2.5 seconds back on Liam Lawson now. Will Sergio Perez pit or will he stay out? He stays out, Sergio Perez. He's had a big wobble there and he is losing time. He went side by side with Liam Lawson and there's been contact with Sergio Perez and Liam Lawson. Oh my God. Sergio Perez, I think, has floor damage or side pod damage to Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson defending hard, of course. He wants that seat for next year, wants to prove a point. There was definitely damage on the side of that Red Bull car, and I think that, yes, Sergio Perez has a hole in his side pod, and no doubt he'll see if he can make it to the end of this race, but Sergio Perez has damage from contact with Liam Lawson. Wow. Unbelievable, trying to overtake the RB car, and well, we'll see if that has any issue as Max Verstappen has an additional 10-second time penalty for forcing another driver off the track. For leaving the track and gaining an advantage, and Max Verstappen has 20 seconds of penalties. Oh my goodness, what am I seeing? 20 seconds Max Verstappen has lost there from Lando Norris. That is ridiculous. justifiable, of course, after last weekend with the whole wasn't he gaining an advantage off the track? Well, he did by forcing Lando Norris off the track and then holding onto that position as he currently is in P3. And well, for 2 separate incidents, Max Verstappen has been given another 10-second time penalty. Sergio Perez has forced Lance Stroll off the track there as well, as we're starting to see drivers really take these track limits to take these racing guidelines to the limit and forcing drivers off the track left, right and centre. This is how ridiculous these racing guidelines are as it currently stands. As you can see there, Stroll and Perez noted for forcing another driver off the track. But yes, Max Verstappen has a 20-second time penalty, guys. If you are just tuning in, I'm got to hear this radio message from Max Verstappen when he gets this told to him. Lando Norris, of course, will be absolutely loving this, but as it currently stands, will he be able to, will the Mercedes be able to take advantage of this? They potentially could, that is for sure. Max would not be out of the points as it currently, well, he would be as it currently stands. He'll have to take this, of course, at his first pit stop. So we'll see where he goes. But yes, this could be the big point swing that Lando Norris needs on Max Verstappen. Of course, he'd like to finish further up and challenge the Ferraris. Maybe he will do. Maybe if the Ferraris fight each other, we will see that as Lance Stroll gets ahead of Sergio Perez there into the stadium section. We know Sergio Perez has damage on his car and Sergio Perez is pitting. And unfortunately, could this be an early retirement for Sergio Perez? 2nd year in a row retiring from the Mexican Grand Prix. Hopefully, it's not for the Mexican fans, but it could be. He has damage in the side of his car. I'm watching the replay here, and Liam Lawson was ahead at the apex. They made, it was such a slow, silly accident, really, contact with Liam Lawson and Sergio Perez. But this is this ridiculous rule coming to the forefront here of drivers just sending it down the inside, trying to get ahead at the apex, and they're really coming on the wrong end. Sergio Perez is back out there, thankfully, on the medium compound tyre. So Sergio Perez will see it to the end of this race if he can. Oscar Piastri update, he is now up into P12. Maybe he can actually get involved in this race. I criticised Oscar Piastri yesterday for being a poor teammate, not helping Max Verstappen and putting his car in between Lando and Max and helping his teammate out. Well, he potentially could have an opportunity to do that today with that 20-second time penalty that Max Verstappen has. 20-second penalty is quite a lot. It is, however, it's 10-second time penalty for each incident. That's the correct rule. I don't think it was quite properly dished out last week. It was mostly 5 seconds, but 10 seconds is the correct penalty. So last week that wasn't really given proportionally, but this time around it is. I'm still yet to see a radio message from Max Verstappen on the announcement of that, so maybe they haven't aired it yet, or maybe Max has just stayed quiet. Colapinto is looking to try and regain that position on Oscar Piastri. He's currently in P13, of course, trying to take advantage of his teammate out of this race at turn 1. Lando Norris is staying within the DR. Oh, he's gaining on Max Verstappen now, and that gap has come down to 1.1 seconds. Maybe Lando is starting to think of making a move on Max Verstappen. 22 laps on this medium compound tyre. I think we are starting to maybe enter the pit window on this medium compound with 50 laps remaining. That is actually even with the one-stop race, we have seen the hard compound tyre go very long here in previous seasons. So we'll see as they go on, as Charles Leclerc has really dropped off of Carlos Sainz now, and that's kind of what we see the gap-wise in regards to here at Mexico. We're trying to call the car. They drop back kind of double. As George Russell is being informed that Verstappen now has a 20-second penalty, and George Russell just replies, wow. So that indicates that George Russell will be thinking about getting ahead of Max Verstappen in the pit stops, as he is currently 8 seconds behind Max Verstappen as it currently stands. So be interested to see where Max comes out once his pit stop is made. Oscar Racecraft is too good. Yeah, Oscar's a great racer. He is a great racer. In P12 at the moment, nearly within the points. And, well, he is currently 20... He's actually... Yeah, he's 18, 20... yeah, so he's quite a way behind Max Verstappen as it currently stands and won't actually get involved in this race yet, I think. But we'll see. We'll see. Still time yet, guys. Max isn't happy. I have no doubt he isn't happy. I'm still waiting to hear. Here we go. Race radio from Max. You've been given another 10-second time penalty. Verstappen, how about him at turn 4? Max, unfortunately, you've been deemed to... You've already got a 10-second time penalty for turn 4. So, yeah, Max getting confused there of what happened, of course, in that battle. And that's why he has two 10-second time penalties. So, yeah. Very interesting, very interesting. But let's run through this grid as it currently stands, guys. 24 laps in this race. How eventful it has been. If you could please hit that like button and get this stream to 1,000 likes, it'd be much appreciated. And continue to hit that subscribe button as well. Let's get this stream to... Can we get this stream to 32,000 subs? Surely there's less than 800 of you here in the stream that are yet to subscribe. It'd be much appreciated with that target at the top of your screen there. But with 24 laps completed, Carlos Sainz is your leader after starting on pole position. He did lose the place to Max at the start, but then regained it pretty swiftly the first time we had DRS, as Oscar Piastri really all banging wheels with Colapinto into turn 1. So Colapinto did see Piastri coming. He did kind of leave the door open though, Colapinto. So very fortunate to get away without damage there. Charles Leclerc is in P2, and as we speak of Oscar Piastri, he has just got ahead of Lance Stroll down into the turn 4 and 6 section of the circuit, and Piastri is now up into P11. Maybe he could play a role here today, as Lando Norris is now in the DRS of Max Verstappen. So how are those medium compound tyres coping? How is Max Verstappen in that helmet coping with dealing with the fact he's got 20 seconds of penalty applied to him, as Lando really gaining in the DRS of that Red Bull? Surely it's only a matter of time till he overtakes him, but how hard will Max Verstappen defend? We will see. It's important for Lando's race if he can get ahead of Max Verstappen out on track before the pit stop, so that he can focus on chasing down the Ferraris ahead. We can see there Stroll and Perez under investigation for forcing another driver off the track. I did make mention of that earlier. We will see if Sergio Perez will be penalised for that. I'm not sure if he was ahead at the apex or not, but I really hate the fact that I still have to say that. George Russell is in P5. Charles Leclerc in P2. Verstappen in P3. Norris in P4, chasing down Max, as you can see there. We'll see if he can get the move done down into turn 1 again, or if Max Verstappen is going to come into the pits. We will see. He will have to take that 20-second time penalty. The engineers will not be able to touch that car for 20 seconds. George Russell in P5 and Hamilton in P6. Kevin Magnussen has now fallen back from the Mercedes, and no doubt is calling that car and looking after the tyres in P7 with Hulkenberg in P8. This is a great opportunity for Haas to score double points this weekend. Gasly in P9, a good drive from him at the moment. Liam Lawson defending from Sergio Perez and has got away without damage, is in P10. Good defence from him, showing why he should maybe be in that Red Bull car for next year instead of Sergio Perez. Oscar Piastri now chasing down Liam Lawson. Norris though going for a move on Max Verstappen down into turn 1. Is he close enough? No, but will he have the grip potentially down into turn 4? He will have DRS again. He is close out of turn 3, but of course we've seen these drivers make contact through turn 4 as Max Verstappen is reporting his tyres aren't holding on, and it's getting bad, guys. It's getting bad. So Lando Norris just holds position there and really is only going to go for a move, no doubt, into turn 1 sensibly. We can see back to Oscar Piastri chasing down Liam Lawson, a 22.2 from him. He's 1.2 seconds faster than Liam Lawson on the hard compound tyre, so it's only a matter of time at that pace that Oscar Piastri will catch Liam Lawson, as Liam Lawson is actually starting to catch Pierre Gasly ahead of him, as we're starting to see the switchover point of these medium compound tyres start to come to the end of their life, and the hard compounds just continuing its pace. Lance Stroll in P12, no further investigation with his incident on Sergio Perez, so they clearly deemed that Sergio Perez was okay and ahead at the apex. Colapinto in P13. He's half a second back from Lance Stroll, so we'll see if it has Max Verstappen is in the pits. Max Verstappen in the pits. So Max Verstappen couldn't hold out any longer, and that releases Lando Norris. And let's see what pace Lando can do in clean air. Max Verstappen, 20-second time penalty right now for him. Let's see where he comes out. Will Oscar Piastri be able to get ahead of Max Verstappen? And I think he's going to be able to. That's a very, very long time that Max Verstappen is stationary. No, he hasn't retired, guys. He hasn't retired. He has just got a 20-second time penalty that he has to take. And he's going to come out behind Colapinto. He's going to come out behind Valtteri Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, and Esteban Ocon. And even though it is a pit stop, Max Verstappen is at the back of the grid. Lance Stroll is pitted behind him, and do not deceive your eyes are not deceiving you guys. Max Verstappen is indeed in 15th place. Sergio Perez is indeed in 16th place, as Sergio Perez has made contact. He had a 5-second time penalty himself for a false start. He has made contact racing Liam Lawson, which has caused him damage on his side pod and is down on performance. Max Verstappen has a 20-second time penalty for two incidents in quick succession on the same lap with Lando Norris of forcing another driver off the circuit as Lando was ahead into turn 4. He then sent his car down the inside into turn 8 to make sure he was ahead at the apex, but ran off the circuit himself, forced Lando off and maintained the position, which means that he gained an advantage and had another 10-second time penalty, and that is why Max is now down in 15th place. So what can Max do today? Can he recover any sort of points in this race? I think he has the pace in that Red Bull to do so. Of course, those drivers ahead of him still have to make some pit stops, but this is not how Max Verstappen envisaged this Mexico Grand Prix race would go from. Remember, Max Verstappen was ahead and leading this race after lap 1 with that great start and getting ahead of Carlos Sainz, and now he finds himself down in 15th place. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I hope you guys have been enjoying the stream. Please hit that like and subscribe button. How are we not at 1,000 likes already? 6,600 of you here in the stream. Please, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. That number at the top of your screen there, 31298. We're trying to hit 32,000 subs. If you can continue to do so, we'll be back next week for another race to end this triple header at Interlagos, where we have a sprint race weekend. And no doubt we are going to still see some needle and some drama with drivers really taking this ahead at the apex rule, literally, after, of course, what happened last week with Lando Norris and Max Verstappen down at turn 12 at Circuit of the Americas. So, lap time update on Charles Leclerc, Sainz and Norris last time around. A 22.6 from Lando Norris on Charles Leclerc, and 22.5 for Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton is into the pits. He is the first of really those top 5 cars, other than Max Verstappen, to pit, as Max is really making up time. He's already on the back of Zhou Guanyu, understandably, who is struggling in that Stake F1 car. We can see Gasly is now into the pits as well. Liam Lawson is promoted up into P7. Oscar Piastri up into P8, and Piastri is making a second per lap on Liam Lawson, as he is on the mediums compared to Lawson on the hard, and of course that McLaren has a considerable pace advantage over Liam Lawson, as Max Verstappen easily makes short work of Zhou Guanyu and gets ahead of him down into turn 1 pretty sharpish. But Lando Norris not gaining time on the Ferraris at the moment. Maybe he might be saving. We will see. He's slightly slower in the first sector than both of the Ferraris. Level pegging in the second sector. Although, Sainz is just the quickest out there at the moment. A 21.8 for Carlos Sainz last time around over Charles Leclerc. Sainz is basically putting in a Charles Leclerc-esque performance like he did last week in Circuit of the Americas, and is hoping to ensure that he removes any kind of safety car element away that can take this win away from him today. Will safety car help Max regain some position? Yes, it could do. No, actually, it probably wouldn't. It depends on when the safety car comes out, but it would mean that everyone else would get a cheaper pit stop. They'd get a 10-second quicker pit stop than Max Verstappen. Well, more than Max Verstappen, because he had 20 seconds, but they'd gain an advantage over Max by pitting under the safety car. So actually, it would do Max a disadvantage if there was another safety car. As Nico Hulkenberg now comes into the pits, Oscar Piastri gains another second, over a second, on Liam Lawson last time around with a 22.7, and Lawson not a second. I thought it was a 23.8 by Liam Lawson. It was a 22.8. So Liam Lawson getting a bit more of a move on now compared to Oscar Piastri, but Oscar can see the rear wing of that RB car on the hard compound tyre, and surely it is only a matter of time for Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen, already ahead of Esteban Ocon, is now up into P11. He has Valtteri Bottas just ahead of him, so he will score points today, Max Verstappen, it seems, but how many will he score? That is going to be the interesting result here. Max 3 places behind Lewis after a 20-second penalty. Is it that bad for Mercedes? It is that bad for Mercedes, yes. But will Lewis Hamilton be able to defend hard from Max Verstappen? We'll see. Lando Norris will be hoping so. We'll see if Max Verstappen can overtake as Lando Norris is into the pits. Lando Norris into the pits, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. He's easily going to come out ahead of Kevin Magnussen, and well, if there is no other safety car, I suspect this will be the one and only stop that we are going to see today, as Lando Norris is out onto the hard compound tyres, not staying out there long. Lando Norris, the McLaren's not doing the overcut, which is what they like to do generally, and get some clean air, as Lewis Hamilton is on the back of Colapinto. This should be an easy overtake for Lewis, probably the easiest overtake he is going to experience today with that big tyre advantage, as Max sets the fastest lap of the race, a 21.252. No doubt an angry Max Verstappen under that Red Bull visor at the moment, with that, of course, those 2 penalties that were issued to him. Piastri now in the DRS of Liam Lawson. It is surely only a matter of time. A fastest first sector there for Lewis Hamilton, as he had DRS and the toe on Colapinto and got the move done. A bit of positivity there for Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes. Valtteri Bottas under attack from Max Verstappen now. Charles Leclerc responds to the McLaren of Lando Norris. So let's see, has Lando Norris been able to eat into any of the time that was to Charles Leclerc? It was around a 6 to 7 second gap between Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. Let's see if this undercut has worked at all for Lando Norris. Of course, you don't expect to see him come out ahead of Leclerc, and well, Leclerc, it looks like Ferrari actually made a good pit stop. They had a good one last time around, a 2.5 second pit stop for Charles Leclerc last week at Circuit of the Americas when in the lead. A brilliant last sector there for Lando Norris, a 20.6, which puts him fastest out of anyone, a purple there. And that gap to Charles Leclerc is now 5.3 seconds, so he's cut about a second and a half, I think, from the gap to Charles Leclerc. But Charles Leclerc, no doubt, will be on pace pretty quickly, and now it's basically a race of attrition. How will that Ferrari cope on its tyres compared to the McLaren of Lando Norris, as Oscar Piastri has George Russell on his behind, as he's still trying to get past Liam Lawson as it currently stands. Liam Lawson defending very well at the moment, but Piastri has the 2 Mercedes fast approaching. Verstappen, of course, making quick work of Valtteri Bottas and is up into P9, but really Lando Norris is going to be focusing on trying to close down to Charles Leclerc and get to P2. Carlos Sainz in the pits. He had a comfortable lead over his teammate. We'll see where he comes out. Wasn't overly a great stop from actually Charles Leclerc. 3.1 seconds for Charles Leclerc, and he's 4.7 seconds ahead of Lando Norris now. But I do expect maybe that gap to level out as well. Charles Leclerc, trying to get his tyres up to temperature, was 4 tenths slower in the middle sector compared to Lando Norris, who has his tyres up to temp. A 21.052 for Lando Norris there, as Lewis Hamilton did a 20.3 last lap. Mega quick from Lewis Hamilton. Let's see if Oscar Piastri can get past Liam Lawson. It looks like he's lost a bit of time, as maybe he's more focusing in his rear view mirrors, as turn 2, lap 32 last time around, Oscar Piastri got track limits. Carlos Sainz has maintained that advantage over his teammate, 8.8 seconds. This is a tremendous drive from Carlos Sainz. He regained the lead from Max Verstappen once he had the DRS. And yes, a comfortable move there for George Russell on fresh tyres, a brand new set of hards compared to Oscar Piastri, and George Russell could be making a double overtake here. 2 overtakes in 2 corners on Liam Lawson, who is also on 32 lap old hards. And well, Oscar Piastri can maybe focus on attacking Liam Lawson again with Max Verstappen fast approaching behind. We can see Lewis Hamilton will be on the back of Oscar Piastri as well, as he's going pretty pacey. Let's keep an eye on the lap times of Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. It seems that base, yes, now Charles Leclerc has those tyres up to temperature. The sector times are starting to level off, and they were pretty neck and neck this lap. Charles Leclerc, we'll see what time he does as he crosses the start finish line, and Lando Norris. Seems Lando does have a little bit more grip than Charles Leclerc, or maybe is using a bit more in that last sector than the Ferrari. We'll see if that pays dividends towards the end of the race there, and that's what has just gained him a 10th there on Charles Leclerc in that Have a school tomorrow, watch F1 from your parents so you can watch this. Nice, nice, nice. Russell's double overtake. Whoa, smooth operator for a reason. Yes, yes. So yeah, hope you guys are enjoying the stream. Please, nearly 1,000 likes, much appreciated. Over 7,000 of you here in the stream. If you are just joining us and you're wondering what has happened in this race, well, Max Verstappen did get down into the first corner ahead of Carlos Sainz and gained the lead, and the safety car swiftly came out for an incident and a crash between Alex Albon and Yuki Tsunoda for Pierre Gasly, just moving over to try and open up the corner as best as possible. As interrupting my update there, we can see Oscar Piastri going side by side with Liam Lawson, with Lewis Hamilton there getting involved as well, and we've already seen Liam Lawson make contact with Sergio Perez down into that very corner, and well, Oscar Piastri is now up into P5, and Lewis Hamilton also makes quick work of Liam Lawson as well, and Oscar Piastri is actually complaining over the radio to get himself out of this crap, as he is not happy of being stuck in this position. Of course, he was stuck behind Lawson when he sent that message. Now he is ahead of him. Max Verstappen is behind Colapinto. We'll see if he can make quick work of the Williams driver. But going back to the update of the race, yes, that safety car restart. Well, Carlos Sainz, it was when DRS was then activated a lap later after the safety car restart that Sainz got ahead of Max Verstappen. He caught him napping, sent it down the inside. A great move on the brakes. Max Verstappen wasn't too happy about it. And then Lando Norris, while Max was trying to regain the position on Sainz, took advantage, got ahead of the apex down into turn 4. Max forced him off as Piastri gets overtaken by Hamilton there on a new set of hard compound tyres, and because of that, Max Verstappen got a 10-second time penalty. But that wasn't the end of it, as only a few corners later into turn 8, in retaliation of that move, Max Verstappen launched his car down the inside at turn 8 to make sure he was ahead at the apex, but he was out of control of his car. He went off circuit, Lando went off circuit, he maintained track position and received a further 10-second time penalty, a total of 20-second penalty seconds that he has now taken in his one and only pit stop for gaining an advantage on Lando Norris, and that is where we are currently at in this race. And Lando Norris is trying to chase down Charles Leclerc. We will see whose tyres last better as we head into the last 36 laps of this race. Hope you're doing well, guys. Hope you're doing well. Please hit that nearly 1,000 likes. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It'd be much appreciated. Of course, we're trying to hit 32,000 subs. Surely there are a number of you here who haven't hit that subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. It just shows your support. And we'll be back, of course, next week for Interlagos, a sprint race weekend. One of my favourite tracks to go to on F1. And no doubt, after the contentious decisions again and the drama we've had here again, as Max Verstappen does make quick work of Colapinto and is now up into P8, we can see that Max is trying to damage limitation now. But Lando Norris will, of course, want to put another position between him and Max Verstappen and try and get ahead of Charles Leclerc. Sainz currently in a league of his own, but we will see if Lando, who is just slowly, it seems, chipping away at the time of Charles Leclerc, as we see a fastest middle sector there for Lando Norris. 2 tenths gained in that middle sector over Charles Leclerc. We'll see if we can have a further battle as this race comes to its end. We've just hit the halfway mark of this Mexico Grand Prix, and I feel like so much has happened already. But yeah, Interlagos is going to be a great weekend, so hit that like and subscribe button, because we'll be back there for sure. And yes, over 1,000 likes. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Can Piastri go to softs? I don't think so. Not being on the mediums, it's a very long time for him to go on the mediums. I think he'll probably go. He may go to the hards. We'll see. We'll definitely have a tyre advantage at the end, but where he will end up, I'm not so sure. He could do with a safety car right now. So last time around, a 20.7 for Lando Norris on Charles Leclerc. A 4.7 gap is being maintained at the moment between the two drivers. Lando not really able to eat into that time yet on the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, but still a long way to go in this race, and still a long way to go to nurse this set of hard compound tyres. Track temperature is getting hotter, 39.5 right now. It was a bit cooler earlier on, so as the track temperature increases, the tyre wear is gonna get worse as the drivers start to slide around more, as that grip starts to lessen. But let's have a run through the grid as it currently stands. So Carlos Sainz is P1 with Charles Leclerc in P2, Lando Norris in P3, George Russell P4, 14 seconds back from Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton in P5, a further 3.5 seconds back. Oscar Piastri going very long on this stint, understandably, currently up 11 positions in P6. Liam Lawson up 5 positions in P7. He's also going long as he's under attack from Max Verstappen, and Max will be making very, very short work of the RB driver, no doubt. Potential teammates next year, maybe. Max Verstappen, of course, as we've updated you on, is in P8, but no doubt about to become P7. Colapinto is in P9, up 7 positions. A great race for him thus far, a great recovery race, but of course still yet to make a pit stop, so he will still have some work to do in the remainder of this race to finish, if he wants to finish in the points. Magnussen and Hulkenberg in P10 and 11 as Max Verstappen, their confirmation, has moved up into P7, currently down 5 places from P2. Hulkenberg in P11, Bottas in P12, going long on this stint, having a good race thus far, actually. Valtteri Bottas, probably his best race thus far of the season. Pierre Gasly has made a pit stop. He will be gaining positions as well. He looked like he could be on course for points today with that updated Alpine. Ocon yet to pit in P14, same as Zhou. Perez, guys. Sorry for Sergio Perez, but he had a false start, which gained him a 5-second time penalty. He then made contact with Liam Lawson while going wheel-to-wheel through turn 4 and 5. He has damage in his side pod, so he is not making a lot of time up on those ahead of him, and is actually slower than Zhou Guanyu, who is on a set of 38-lap-old hards. A poor weekend for Sergio Perez in what, no doubt, I think is going to be his last Mexico Grand Prix. So a real shame for him, but all of his own doing once again, unfortunately. And then Lance Stroll in P17. Fernando Alonso has retired because he probably just cannot be bothered in that Aston Martin. Who can blame him? Alex Albon in P19 and Tsunoda in 20th. And interestingly, Oscar Piastri has gained another track limits violation in turn 2. So he needs to be careful there because he could receive a time penalty come the end of this race if he exceeds it a few more times. How is Piastri so slow? Max is right behind him. Because Piastri has 38-lap-old mediums, he is still yet to pit. He is on the softer compound of tyre that, of course, is very old. Not as much grip as what Max Verstappen has. As interestingly, Charles Leclerc goes fastest in the middle sector as Lando Norris is only a couple of hundredths behind him. That gap has now gone to 5.2 seconds on Charles Leclerc, between Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. As it seems that last time around, Leclerc maybe just got his foot down a little bit there in the on his last lap. 20.8 from Charles Leclerc this time around. What is Lando Norris's time? A 20.7. So Charles Leclerc gained some time in the middle sector, but then lost it in the last sector. So Lando Norris does seem to have the better of the Ferraris in the last sector at the moment. So we'll see if that benefits him. With 32 laps remaining, still a long way to go. It is definitely going to be down to who looks after their tyres best. But we have seen here before in Mexico, guys, if you're unfamiliar with this race, where as Oscar Piastri comes into the pits finally, we'll see where he comes out. We have seen here before at Mexico where the assumption of tyres falling off a cliff has been wrong. Mercedes made that mistake last year with Red Bull, and they lost the race due to it. Lando Norris and McLaren have to take that into consideration this year, even though we are on a softer compound, a step softer than we were last year. Liam Lawson is in the pits also. He is going to come out ahead of Sergio Perez or behind him. He's going to come out behind Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll. So no doubt Sergio Perez won't be too best pleased to see the RB car of Liam Lawson behind him, as Lance Stroll actually regains a position on actually gets past Sergio Perez there. He is obviously severely damaged at the moment, Sergio Perez, and it's just plodding around, waving to his fans as he goes by. A 20.8 this time for Lando Norris in the on his last lap there. Charles Leclerc a 20.7. So they're kind of lapping very similarly. That gap staying at 5 seconds. Sainz does have the pace advantage on both Norris and Leclerc at the moment, but as I keep mentioning, it is all about how they look after these tyres. Track temperature has just cooled a degree, so that will help with the tyre saving. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on those gaps at the front, guys. If I was Sainz, I would let Leclerc pass. He has had more chances to win in F1. No, you never give up a win. You'd never give up a win. Why would Sainz do that? It's potentially this could potentially be the last time we ever see Carlos Sainz win a race in F1, because there is no guarantee, of course, he could win in the last 4 races. We know how unpredictable F1 is at the moment. Of course, with how Ferrari are doing very well at the moment, there is a high possibility that he could, but he is in the Williams next year, and there's no guarantee that he will return to a top team that will allow him, that will put him in a position to win a race. So, yes, he's got to see this through to the end, and I would totally do the same if I was Carlos Sainz. Purple middle sector there for Lando Norris. Of course, Oscar Piastri on a brand new set of hard compound tyres is going to go quicker than everyone else at the moment, and we'll see him probably make quick work of Gasly and Bottas in front of him. He's having to do some on-track overtaking today and making it interesting. But interested there, even with the purple middle sector from Lando Norris, that was still an identical lap time between him and Leclerc. As Max Verstappen said, it's getting really dark, but GP, his engineer, says nothing's going to hit the track at the moment, Max. And the Max update is in P6. He is trying to chase down Lewis Hamilton and George Russell ahead. Of course, for Lando Norris, Lando Norris's benefit, he'll be hoping that he can't catch them, and by the time he does catch them, he doesn't have the tyre life to overtake them. So we'll see how they get on. Of course, Lewis Hamilton, old rivals Lewis and Max. We know Max is not happy today, so could we see something there between Lewis Hamilton and Max? But of course, they have to catch Lewis. Max Verstappen has to catch Lewis at the moment, and Lewis is currently doing 21.2s, and Max did a 21.7 last time around. Piastri will end 8th or 9th. Most likely. Yeah, not going to get in the way of Max Verstappen today, unless there is a late safety car, maybe, as Lando is really going quick in the middle sector, but it's not enough to make a lot of time on Charles Leclerc, as you can see there. Charles Leclerc had a 20.5, and then Lando does a 20.4. So they're kind of matching each other's pace at the moment, which is very interesting. Charles Leclerc did make up quite a bit of time on Sainz. Last time out, Norris was half a second quicker than Carlos Sainz as well. Oscar Piastri wasn't an overtake of his down the main straight. Very, very easy for the McLaren driver. He is now in the DRS of Pierre Gasly, and about to get involved in this fight of Bottas and Pierre Gasly. Hulkenberg is on the back of Colapinto, who is still yet to pit. 41 laps he's done on these hard compound tyres. That is a tremendous effort from Colapinto at the moment. Probably goal hanging for a safety car or a red flag of some sort. Where is Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen's time last time out? As Colapinto actually has lost a position there to Nico Hulkenberg down into turn 1. Max Verstappen's lap last time around was a 21.5 as Gasly gets ahead of Valtteri Bottas down into turn 1. Piastri all over the rear of Bottas, and you think it will be 2 positions lost for Bottas in quick succession, as he is still yet to make a pit stop. But Max Verstappen last time around, a 21.596 from him and a 21.285 from Hamilton, and George Russell did a 21.0. So Max is either mega tyre saving at this stage of the race, or at this stage of the race, the Red Bull actually doesn't have the pace. And Max is actually, as I say that, right on cue reports, I've got no grip. So Max is indeed struggling with the balance of the Red Bull out there at the moment on this hard compound tyre. And that's why his lap times are falling off from the 2 Mercedes ahead. So this might be the best that Max can do today. Damage limitation, only a few positions behind Lando Norris. It is not the largest of point swings that Lando will hope for, hence why he'll want to overtake Charles Leclerc. But that gap is maintaining at 5 seconds at the moment. If I look at the point swing that Lando Norris would have over Max Verstappen, well, for finishing third, he would gain 15 points and Max would gain 8. So that would be 7 points, and that is not enough really for Lando Norris. He needs an average of 11 points per race remaining to gain really sufficiently on Max to the end of the season. Of course, there are still 2 sprint races remaining, but Oscar Piastri now into the points in P10. So we'll see if Lando can catch Leclerc, and we'll see if maybe he turns off the afterburners in the latter stages of this race. Even if Piastri passes Max, would charge a bit more. We'll see. Perez getting lapped again. He's in the pit, Sergio Perez, and he is back out, it seems. Sergio Perez back out. There's no way they're going to retire Sergio Perez from this race, even though he has a chunk missing from his side pod. As Lando right on cue there, takes 3 temps out of Charles Leclerc. Very interesting. So is this maybe Charles Leclerc starting to suffer a little bit on his tyres, or is this just Lando being much quicker? We will see. He needs to keep chipping away with a gap like that on Charles Leclerc. But of course, Charles Leclerc has the benefit of knowing he has that advantage over Lando and can look after his tyres a bit more and ensure that he has enough grip to fight Lando, similarly to how Max did last week, as it does look like that Charles won't be able to catch Carlos Sainz unless there is a safety car in this race. Maybe it's McLaren's advantage of less fuel. Yes, that is true. McLaren is normally better on lower fuel. It does seem that Norris is much better in the middle sector. He's taken you can see there, he's taken about a couple of temps in the last few laps in that middle sector away from Leclerc. So we'll keep an eye on that. So through the last sector there, Charles Leclerc, what is his lap time? It was a 20.581, so quicker than the previous lap. But Lando Norris does a 20.370. Fastest lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen. Lando Norris starting to chip away at the gap of Charles Leclerc. That's 6 temps he has just gained on the Ferrari driver in the last 2 laps with 26 laps remaining. Lando probably pushing a couple of laps and then tyre save again and charge again. Maybe. Does safety car help Max now since Max has a spare medium compound? It could. Yes, it could. Would it help everyone else? Yeah, safety car probably would help Max now. And of course, it would help Max because he'd have, new tyres and he would be back on the behind of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. He definitely doesn't have the pace on Lewis Hamilton or George Russell. You can see there, 21.2 from him. He's 9.7 seconds back. This is him basically just ensuring he looks after this old engine that he's currently got in the car, see it to the end, and if there is a safety car, happy days, we can try and take advantage and cut a few more points into Lando maybe. But at the moment, this is still sufficient for Max because it's only a 7-point advantage. Currently 8 if Lando does take fastest lap on the Max Verstappen, because that is not enough. He needs an average of 11.6, I believe it is, definitely over 11 points in the remaining 4 race weekends. Of course, if it was to finish as it is, that average would increase in the remaining races for Lando Norris. He does, of course, have the opportunity of 2 sprint races, but he didn't take advantage of that last time out in the Circuit of the Americas, and it seems to be Max and Red Bull in particular do excel in the sprint race weekends, particularly the sprint race in itself. Whereas other teams take a bit of time to get up to speed with, of course, that limited 1 practice session. But Lando Norris there, another 3 temps taken out of Charles Leclerc there, but he lost. It seems Lando went deep into the first corner and just lost 3 temps on Charles Leclerc. So he's gained 9 temps on Charles Leclerc, almost a second basically in the last 3 laps, but then he's just lost a chunk of time there down into turn 1, or through the first sector at least, due to a slight error. Let's see what his middle sector time is. A 31.4 from Charles Leclerc and a 31.2 from Norris. So Norris does have the better of Charles Leclerc through that middle sector, but of course that is a very rear limited sector where you go through turn 4, 5 and 6, and that might be where Charles Leclerc is just saving a bit on the throttle, being a bit easier and saving those tyres a bit more. So pretty neck and neck there in those lap times of Charles Leclerc and Norris this time around, and that gap is at 4.2 seconds, but definitely coming down. Colapinto still needs to pit. Yes, so the drivers still yet to pit, guys, are Esteban Ocon, Valtteri Bottas and Colapinto. They are the 3 drivers still yet to pit in this race. Everyone else has done a 1 stop, except for Sergio Perez, who has picked up damage, and he is now on another set of tyres. He has a chunk missing out of his side pod as he made contact with Liam Lawson down into turn 4. So yes, not been a good race for Sergio Perez, starting with that full start and that 5-second time penalty. Ooh, Perez will hold Russell and Hamilton, want to bet. He technically can't because he'll get blue flags and he has to let them through within 4 corners, I believe it is, when you get blue flags. So Colapinto now into the pits. So we still have only Valtteri Bottas and Esteban Ocon remaining. We'll see if they dive into the pits now as well. And no, Valtteri Bottas is going long. So Pierre Gasly is back up into P10. Piastri is still in P9. Where will Colapinto come out? He is going to be lapped by Carlos Sainz. It seems to be a slow pit stop there for the Williams team. So not ideal. Not ideal for Colapinto there, that is for sure. Gap to Norris and Leclerc. Another 2 attempts taken out of Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. That gap is now to 4 seconds with 23 laps remaining. So Norris just chipping away at that time on Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton, interestingly, has caught George Russell. What has happened here? George Russell's had an off last lap. George Russell did a 21.1 last lap, but the lap before that, it was a 21.4, and Lewis Hamilton did a 20.4. Whereas this time around, Lewis Hamilton did a 20.8, and George Russell was at a 21.1. So George Russell has had an off somewhere, or had a big issue, maybe got an issue with his car, and Lewis Hamilton has gained quite a bit of time on his teammate. It's now within the DRS. So George Russell might have just killed his tyres here, which we do unfortunately see George Russell do time and time again. It's definitely an area he needs to improve. So we'll see, but you can see there evidently a 21.1 for George last time around and a 20.8 for Lewis Hamilton. And well, we know that George won't let Lewis Hamilton past easy. Maybe Lewis will be given team orders just to hold, as I'm listening to George Russell. As George has been informed, he's free to race, actually. So no team orders at Mercedes. They are free to race. And, well, that isn't what Lando Norris will be wanting to hear, because he'll be hoping that those two just slot it home as it is without issue and keep Max Verstappen behind them. Since signing Perez, the sales of Red Bull skyrocket in Mexico. That is the padding in the bottom line of the energy drinks company. Exactly, Phoenix. Exactly. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Over 7,000 of you here in the stream. Big thank you as always. Please hit that subscribe button, that number at the top of your screen. I've seen that we've had hundreds of subscribers already today, so a big thank you. If we can get this stream to 32,000 subscribers, that would be absolutely amazing. So please, if you are yet to hit that subscribe button, please do. It's just a token of your appreciation and support of this channel, and I have been doing these watch-alongs for every single race this year, qualifying as many practice sessions as I can, and just love F1. So yes, if you do too, hit that subscribe button and continue to hit that like button as well. Let's see if we can get to 1,500 likes. Yeah. What did it take for Ferrari to win the Constructors? Exactly this. I don't know what the point swing would be off the top of my head as Bottas finally comes into the pits, but I did state yesterday that if they finished where they started on the grid, so that means Piastri outside of the points and Norris in P4, and means Charles Leclerc in P4, Lando in P3, and Sainz winning. They would be 32 points behind, I think, McLaren at the end of today. But I think they're going to be even closer than that, because they're taking maximum points other than the fastest point. So yeah, Ferrari do massively have an opportunity of winning this Constructors title and stealing it away from McLaren, which would be unforgivable, really, when you think about it, at the end of this season. So yes, if they could secure another 1-2, which potentially looks like they're doing, unless Lando Norris has something to say about it, they do have a very good opportunity of stealing this championship away from McLaren if they end the season as strong as they are now. So Charles Leclerc has got past Colapinto with that blue flag. Lando Norris last time around, a 20.5 from him. That gap now under 4 seconds. Now just under 4 seconds for Lando Norris. So he is chipping away at that gap. He has enough time to catch up to the back of Leclerc. But we know that catching is one thing and overtaking is another in F1, as Lando Norris found out the hard way last week to Max Verstappen. But this time around, he'll be fighting Charles Leclerc. Maybe after what we saw earlier on today with Lando Norris, using the rules to his advantage, he might do the same to Charles Leclerc, and we might see a different Lando Norris when it comes to wheel. But Charles Leclerc, good lap from him last time out, a 20.3 compared to Norris's 20.4, but that gap has still decreased to 3.8 seconds on Lando Norris as he is approaching Colapinto, who's just set the fastest lap, by the way, on the medium compound tyre. Let's have a run through this grid, guys. We've just spoken about the top three. George Russell is still holding back Lewis Hamilton, who just, as he is now fully in the dirty area of his teammate, just cannot get past. But he is closing on George Russell there. He's got DRS open as they head down into turn one. Will Lewis Hamilton go for a move into turn one? The two teammates, we know George hates losing to Lewis Hamilton and will do everything that he can to hold him back. But it does seem that Lewis has generally he is much better on the tyres, has more tyre life than George Russell, even though he has 3-lap older hards, and that is why Russell has fallen back into the clutches of Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen is 12 seconds back to the Mercedes teammates now, and he is just trying to see this home, and damage limitation for him after that 20-second time penalty he received. Absolutely crazy to think that he got that time penalty, those 2 time penalties, but as per the racing guidelines, justifiably so. Max Verstappen, Magnussen, apologies, another Kevin Magnussen in P7. A great race for him at the moment. He's faster than Max Verstappen. Nico Hülkenberg in P8. Oscar Piastri is in P9. He's doing mid-20s at the moment compared to the Haases. He's lapping around 9 tenths to a second quicker than the Haases. You do think Piastri will catch Hülkenberg. How long does Piastri have to Max? There's quite a big gap to Max Verstappen. I don't think he'll catch him with 19 seconds remaining. But Pierre Gasly looking to sneak that last point at the moment, unless Liam Lawson may catch him on the medium compound tyre. We will see if Gasly falls off. Liam Lawson is just had to let Sainz through, so that's why he's a bit slow the last lap last time around. Time for a Mert DNF. Hamilton still on the back of George Russell. Just cannot get that overlap on George at the moment. And of course, no doubt, probably doesn't want to cause damage to the Mercedes, where they're using the flaw that they had back in Miami. They are using the sparest of parts at Mercedes, so a crash for them will not be good for their chances, especially next week at Interlagos. No doubt they'll be able to ship new parts out, but it won't be good for the Mercedes, who have already said that they are operating at the top of the cost cap and don't have much more wriggle room left for the remainder of this season. Leclerc is catching to Sainz because Sainz is stuck between 2 back markers. Indeed he is. So, of course, that means that Leclerc and Norris will have to overtake them as well. And you can see there, Norris chipping away still at Charles Leclerc's time. A 3.7 second gap now. He does have to get past Colapinto. No doubt that blue flag will be raised for Colapinto very soon. Piastri fastest in the middle sector this time around there. A 20.2 for him last time out. Let's see where he is. He is on the back of Nico Hülkenberg already. He's gained 1.5 seconds last time around. Oscar Piastri on Nico Hülkenberg. Tremendous pace from Piastri, and once again just shows what if maybe for Piastri if he had a better qualifying yesterday and didn't have that off track at turn 12. The race has settled down now. Yes, it has. I think, look, we've got 18 laps remaining as it currently stands, about to be 17 as Sainz crosses the start-finish line. There is still a race here. with the 2 Mercedes drivers fighting each other. The race primarily is where can Oscar Piastri get his car up to. I think he's going to fall short of catching up to Max, understandably. That's a massive gap. It's, what is that, a 14... That's like a 17-second gap between him and Max Verstappen. That's just not doable. And, well, it's really Lando Norris. Can he continue to cut into that gap of Charles Leclerc? That's what I'm most intrigued about, because every point matters for Lando Norris in this championship. Funny enough, this is the same if Norris won and Max came second. Yeah, crazy really, isn't it? Crazy. Who do I favour at this point? Where it isn't sure thing Hamilton will get more points than P4 realistically. I don't think Lewis... I mean, maybe Lewis will get past Russell. Lewis, going for a move. He's very, very close there on George Russell into the braking zone. He just doesn't really have the grip in that dirty air on George. But, I mean, he does actually have the grip on George, but it's not sufficient enough to have that overlap in equal machinery. George Russell has definitely killed his tyres, as he kind of generally tends to do. As Lewis Hamilton, is he going for a move there down into turn 4? He's definitely on the rear wing of George Russell, maybe poking the nose and forcing George Russell out of position. 2 tenths back there Lewis Hamilton was, and he's very, very close to George Russell. I think Lewis is maybe just trying to force George Russell into a mistake, maybe just toying with his food. No doubt, of course, wanting to cause, as we mentioned previously, damage to these cars. But he is all over the back of George Russell at the moment, the 2 Mercedes, and that is where the closest battle is on track at the moment. And wow, what happened there to Charles Leclerc? Lando Norris just took 5 tenths, half a second out of Charles Leclerc last time around, or near enough anyway. That gap is now down to 3.1 seconds for Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris starting to make inroads on that gap to Charles Leclerc as he is reaching the lap traffic. Colapinto has been given the blue flag for Lando Norris to get past. Now, of course, maybe a bit of time there will be lost in this traffic for Charles Leclerc and subsequently Lando Norris, but that is very intriguing that gap just got considerably shorter. Colapinto not letting Lando Norris through. If he gets 4 blue flags, I believe he will get a penalty, so no doubt he'll let the McLaren through down this stretch to turn 12. We will see. No, Colapinto is not letting Lando Norris through down this section into turn 12, so that will not be ideal for Lando Norris. But with that traffic, that gap has just come down to 2.7 seconds of Lando Norris on Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris will get DRS as they head down into turn 1, though, as I believe he does on the lap car. Yes, he does indeed. So this will be helping Lando Norris, as Charles Leclerc did clear Liam Lawson there, but not in an ideal place down into the stadium section. Oscar Piastri has made quick work of Nico Hulkenberg, is now up 9 positions in this race. So a good recovery from him thus far. We'll see if he can catch Kevin Magnussen. He has 8 seconds to Kevin Magnussen, but Matt K-Mag is doing quite well on those hard compound tyres. We'll see if Oscar can maybe make up one more position in this race with 15 laps remaining, as Lando Norris 2.3 seconds behind Charles Leclerc now. He gained another half a second there in that lap traffic over Charles Leclerc. We'll see if Lando will be able to make quick work of Liam Lawson here, or if he is going to suffer. But it does seem that Norris has used this lap traffic to his advantage with 15 laps remaining, guys. Franco, please take Lando out. No, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. If you're just joining us of what happened to Max Verstappen, well, where have you been? Lando Norris and Max Verstappen went wheel to wheel again. And, well, Lando basically had returned to sender to Max Verstappen. He was on the receiving end last weekend, of course, of those racing guidelines. And, well, this time around, he played Max his own game, got ahead at the apex, down into turn 4. Max forced him off track, which gave him a 10-second time penalty. Then, in response to that, Max Verstappen then sent it down the inside into turn 8 in the entry to the S's to get ahead at the apex of Lando Norris. He forced Lando off the track and himself, and then gained the position, or maintained the position on Lando Norris, and then that gained him another 10-second time penalty, which resulted in a total of 20 seconds of penalties for Max Verstappen, which he took at his one and only pit stop. And of course, with him being in a Red Bull car that is quick enough than the rest of the majority of the field, he is in P6 at the moment, just trying to eke this race out to the end, of course, on that old engine. Lewis Hamilton still on the rear of George Russell. He's very, very close there under braking on George, and maybe he'll go for a move on George Russell here down into turn 4. We will see. George Russell maybe getting a dirty air of Zhou Guanyu ahead of him, as Lando Norris, that gap now down to 2.1 seconds as he has cleared Liam Lawson, and Leclerc is stuck in the tow, or in the dirty air of Lance Stroll. He has cleared Lance Stroll down into turn 12. But Lando is gaining. We have 14 laps remaining. We're about to have 13 laps remaining, as Carlos Sainz has now a 7.7 second lead over his teammates into turn. And that, wow, Charles Leclerc has just had an issue. Charles Leclerc has just made a big mistake there in the stadium section. He is potentially just locked up there, and Lando Norris is now less than 1.5 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. So much so that Lance Stroll is back on the rear of the Ferrari driver. He lets Lando Norris through, and now Lando is 1 second behind Charles Leclerc, just over 1 second behind Charles Leclerc with 13 laps remaining. Can Lando put another position between him and Max Verstappen and get P2 here in this race and try and maximise the amount of points that he possibly can to Max Verstappen? If he was to do so, it would be an additional 3 points for Lando Norris over Max Verstappen. in this race, and well, that would take him to 10 points advantage in this race, excluding a fastest lap, which I don't think he'll be able to do because he's on the hard compound tyre. But for him, it will be near enough of a good points haul for him that he needs in the remaining race weekends. Lando Norris putting the pressure on the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and Charles has not really handled this traffic very well. He has caught them at kind of the wrong places, and Norris is on the back of Charles Leclerc. But as we have stated already, catching is one thing, overtaking is another, as Lando found out the hard way last weekend in Circuit of the Americas with Max Verstappen. But he's not fighting Max Verstappen this time around, he's fighting Charles Leclerc. Colapinto making a move on Liam Lawson. It seems he is on 8-lap younger tyres than Liam Lawson. Colapinto, 2 future F1 drivers, no doubt permanent F1 drivers who will be in better teams and in top teams in the future. Going at it. 2 rookies, you could say. Liam Lawson, of course, a bit more of an experienced rookie than Colapinto, but great to see these 2 drivers out on track, and we'll see how their battle progresses as they move on. So Lando Norris, a 20.1 last time around compared to Charles Leclerc's 20.4. He's still just outside DRS though, but where Lando is really making up the time is in the slow corners on that Ferrari, through the middle sector and through the stadium section. So let's stay on board with Norris and Leclerc and see how much time Lando can make up. You do suspect that Lando will be able to get within the DRS of Charles Leclerc under braking here through the stadium section. Maybe not though, as he's now in the dirty air. Of course, everything changes, and he is just outside of the DRS as it currently stands as he heads through turn 16, but he will be in the tow of the Ferrari driver, and he will gain as they head down into turn 1. Let's see how much time he gains on Charles Leclerc with just that tow, and at the moment it's actually not that much, so maybe there's a bit of gamesmanship, well, a bit of a battery mode strategy being used here. But Lando Norris was 2 tenths quicker than Charles Leclerc last time around. Lewis Hamilton still on the rear of George Russell. And this has allowed Max Verstappen to gain a little bit of time, only 2 seconds in the last 5 laps or so on George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. But yes, George Hamilton? Mixing the 2 up there. Lewis Hamilton, not enough to get past George Russell at the moment. Lando Norris just not able to get into the DRS of Charles Leclerc, and that is essential for him to get past the Ferrari driver. And as I've said, catching is one thing, overtaking is another, especially with how prevalent the dirty air is now in F1. Carlos Sainz domination may bore fans. Tremendous drive from Carlos Sainz. Roles reversed this weekend compared to Charles Leclerc. And let's see whether Lando can get in the DRS this time around in the slower section. And he can. Lando Norris has just snuck into the DRS, importantly, on Charles Leclerc through the stadium section. And that for him is so important, as with it, he's just put in a fastest lap of the race. So maybe he will still sneak a fastest lap here. Of course, Max Verstappen doesn't have Sergio Perez at his disposal to take that fastest lap away from Lando Norris if needed, as he has damage to the side pod of his car. Maybe they'll deploy Liam Lawson if he's outside the points to put on a set of soft compound tyres. If that happens, you know damn well that there is an unspoken rule, or there is a rule with RB, that if they can take a fastest lap away from a championship rival, they will do so. But Lando, importantly, you saw how much time he gained on Charles Leclerc there. 3 tenths on the Ferrari driver, with DRS down into turn 1, and he is now in that window that he needs to be. You don't expect him to overtake through this section. It's all about just staying close and putting your rival under pressure so that you can position and overtake down into turn 1, unsettle them. Let's see how close he'll get down into the braking zone of turn 12. He is much quicker in the slower sections, and you can see there Lando Norris actually turned off his DRS a little bit sooner so that he could get the downforce to ensure he had that braking capability into turn 12. A tricky corner where we saw Yuki Tsunoda go off yesterday in qualifying. So he is 6 tenths back through turn 16. DRS will be open, and Lando Norris is actually ahead of Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc Leclerc's had a wobble through the last corner, and wow, Lando Norris, without kind of any issue at all, has got past Charles Leclerc into turn 1. I think Charles Leclerc has had an issue or a big wobble on the rear through turn 16. That's the only thing that I can think of, as Charles Leclerc struggling with grip, and Lando has just gained, as it currently stands, an additional 3 points, actually an additional 4 points with that fastest lap over Max Verstappen, and that will be an 11 points gained on Max as it currently stands. So I'm watching the replay to see exactly what happened to Charles Leclerc. And Lando consistently has chipped away at that gap and has now got ahead of Charles Leclerc, and he's already 2 seconds ahead of Charles. You don't expect him to catch Sainz with this little time remaining. Sainz has had much better pace. And whoa, absolutely massive wobble from Charles Leclerc there in the last sector. He threw up the dust, nearly went in the barriers, and brilliant car control from Charles Leclerc in the last corner, but that nearly ended so terribly for Charles Leclerc in the last corner. I cannot tell you how scary that must have been in the car for Charles Leclerc, but I'd love to see the onboard, because that is pure brilliant car control to save that. Big snap, big wobble. They pan to Charles Leclerc's family in the pit box, and they have their mouths open as I'm watching the replay as Charles Leclerc got on throttle and the rears just gave out. He ran off track and was nearly on the grass on the exit there. Unbelievable from Charles Leclerc there, car control. His tyres just gave up at the end of the lap, and that was brilliant car control. As I'm watching the onboard of Lando Norris, he was putting the pressure on, and that's what you do when you're in a slightly quicker car. You put the pressure on your rival who you're trying to overtake, and that is Lando forcing Charles Leclerc to push as they were heading down into the start-finish straight, and was potentially lining up a move as Lando now goes fastest. Now he's in clean air again. Lando is going fastest, and well, he is setting the fastest lap here. Now, what is intriguing for me, guys, Code Brown indeed, what is intriguing for me here is whether Liam Lawson, who is looking like he doesn't have an opportunity, he's not going to score points today, he's too far behind Pierre Gasly. Do RB pit Liam Lawson onto a set of soft compound tyres and take that fastest lap away from Lando Norris? If they do, there is most 100% definitely a rule set between Red Bull and the junior team, which they continue to state there is no relationship with, which is ridiculous. And that means that tactics have been employed to take a point away from Max Verstappen's championship rival. I'm just saying, if it is, then that's a slam dunk of them utilising another team to take points away from a rival. But we'll see. 7 laps remaining. Still time for that to happen. He's in a battle with Colapinto at the moment, as Colapinto has not been able to overtake Liam Lawson. But as it stands, guys, Carlos Sainz is in P1. He has been tremendous today. He has been brilliant. He's had the better of his teammate, Charles Leclerc. He made a brilliant move out on circuit on Max Verstappen that caught him napping, and he is now in P1. Charles Leclerc is saying, think about the fastest lap. Oh, interesting. Charles Leclerc could be pitting to take fastest lap. Interesting. So Lando could not even take fastest lap if Charles Leclerc pits. He does have, interestingly, a 30-second gap to to George Russell, who is still fighting Lewis Hamilton, as Lewis cannot get past George, but he is all over the back of his teammate at the moment. I wondered where Lewis was, but their icons were overlapping there as Lewis was all over the rear of his teammate. So yes, Charles Leclerc, as we stated, every point matters in this Constructors' Championship at the moment, as it does in the World Drivers, and Charles Leclerc thinking ahead about getting that all-important point that could be the difference when it comes to the Constructors' title at the end of the season. Liam Lawson has been overtaken by Colapinto. Has he been overtaken by Colapinto down into turn 1? He has indeed. The two rookies are side by side, and Colapinto has got ahead of Liam Lawson down into turn 3, and well, will Liam Lawson come back at the Argentinian driver down into turn 4? I'm not quite sure he has the grip, but the two rookies going side by side, put it on a show here. As Lewis Hamilton finally gets ahead of George Russell into turn 1, Lewis has got ahead of George, who is suffering on those hard compound tyres, those younger tyres compared to his teammate. And Lewis Hamilton has finally dispatched his teammate George Russell. He's up into P4 in what I don't think anyone would have expected from Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes today to both finish in the top 5. Let's see how much of a gap now Lewis Hamilton can pull on George Russell as he is now in clean air. I don't think George will have a response with those poor condition tyres to Lewis Hamilton. And we've just had, after not having a number of overtakes for quite some period in this race, guys, we've just had multiple overtakes in quick succession. Guys, if you're enjoying this stream, please hit that like button. But more importantly, if you can, hit the subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. We are nearly at 31,500 subs. Let's get this channel to 32,000, please. It would be much appreciated. George Russell actually didn't really fight that too hard. He allowed Lewis Hamilton to get by because Lewis had much better grip out of the last corner and had the overlap. So yeah, no real hard fighting there. Right on cue, ladies and gentlemen, Liam Lawson is in. He's going to be on the soft compound tyre and he's going to try and take this fastest lap away from Lando Norris. Told you. I told you. That should not be allowed in F1. I'm telling you now, that should not be allowed in F1 and I don't like that. I don't care if it's loud. I don't care who it is. That should just not be allowed. Red Bull have an unfair advantage here by utilising. That is ridiculous. Ugly. That is ridiculous. Because Lawson now is going to set the fastest lap on the softs. That is ridiculous. I cannot believe that. I mean, I'm not surprised. There was rumours that they shrugged it off with Daniel Ricciardo in Singapore, stating, no, it was a last hurrah for Daniel Ricciardo in Singapore. Well, no. This is just Liam Lawson. Hang on. This is just right here an example of them gaming the system. And I don't like this. Liam Lawson actually came into the pits and has got damage to his front wing, so maybe he won't have the performance in that car to take fastest lap away from Lando Norris. But this will be the second time this season that the RB car would have taken fastest lap away from Lando Norris, which is just utterly ridiculous. I really hope that Lando Norris actually has pace in those hard compound tyres to still set the fastest lap, actually. But yeah, he went in for a new front wing. That wasn't, yeah, but even so, it's an excuse for them to pit and put on the soft compound tyre. And I'm not sure if he did put on a new front wing, actually. We'll see. But it's still them pitting to put on a soft compound tyre and take the fastest lap away from Norris. As Norris sets the fastest lap again So he now knows, no doubt, that Liam Lawson has been pitted for soft compound tyre and may get this fastest lap. Leclerc is still yet to pit. They're not willing to pit him away from P3 with 3 laps remaining in this race, guys. Harder that, mate. They're fighting for the championship. They are fighting for the championship, but I don't like it. I don't have to like it. Liam Lawson fastest in the middle sector. Surprise, surprise. He is going to catch Max Verstappen. But yes, let's see if Lando can charge. Let's see if Lando can charge up his battery and still take fastest lap on a set of hards. But I doubt it, considering he's on 38 lap old hards. Yeah, but it's convenient that he has. If he has a front wing damage, they were probably still going to come in anyway, regardless. No doubt. He wasn't in for points. As surprise, surprise, he takes fastest lap. I'm still standing by my conspiracy. I don't even think it's a conspiracy, really. I think it's just obvious. It has happened in previous years where they've utilised their second team to take points away from other drivers. So, 2 teams working together. Yeah, that's what I think, Jimmy, yeah. You should only fight for the championship with 1 team, yeah. I mean, but F1, Liberty Media, or F1, the FIA will just turn a blind eye to it. Look, you can disagree with me, that's fine. I'm standing by my opinion and my assessment. So, yeah. Leclerc in the pits, though. Leclerc is going for fastest lap. So, It looks like Lando probably wouldn't be able to take fastest lap anyway because Leclerc has a free pit stop to Lewis Hamilton behind, as Lewis has pulled out that gap comfortably now, 3 seconds on his teammate. So yes, George Russell has cooked his tyres indeed. Lando Norris is not probably going to set a fast lap here as he's slower in the first sector. Liam Lawson is going slower now as well, as he's no doubt taking that fastest lap away. But Charles Leclerc is on a set of softs and he's going for an all-important point. As Sergio Perez is also diving into the pits as well. We have drivers diving into the pits, going all out for this fastest lap, but I don't think Sergio Perez will be able to steal that with that damage in that Red Bull side pod that he currently has. But Charles Leclerc on a set of used softs, and well, he's importantly got out ahead of Valtteri Bottas with 1 lap remaining after this. Charles Leclerc will have 1 lap to take fastest lap point away from Lando and McLaren, importantly, in this constructors battle. But that means Norris will only gain 10 points on Max Verstappen, but it is much better than what it was looking like at the start of this race after Max Verstappen got into P1. But it's final lap here, guys. Thank you for everyone for tuning in to this Mexican Grand Prix. Over 8,500 of you here. If you could hit that like and subscribe button, the subscribe button will get me to hopefully 32,000 subs. So if you're enjoying this stream and you want to watch more F1 content, hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on to be alerted. Charles Leclerc is about to start his final lap. Let's see how he gets on. But Carlos Sainz, what has been very, very intriguing here, though, of course, Carlos Sainz is out front just managing this race. Lando Norris has got that gap down to 5 seconds on Carlos Sainz. So Lando Norris on low fuel, that McLaren really, really does come alive. As Esteban Ocon is fighting it out with Valtteri Bottas there at the end of this race for P13. Sergio Perez is going to be last of the finishers after making that pit stop there. Lawson is going to try and go for another lap, fastest lap, take it away from Charles, but I don't think he'll be able to. But Carlos Sainz, 2 more corners for Carlos Sainz as he heads through the stadium section. It's been a brilliant weekend for Carlos Sainz. It's been a couple of great races for him, and Carlos Sainz has won the Mexican Grand Prix. Lando Norris comes across the line in P2 and splits the Ferraris. Charles Leclerc is on his final lap. He has the set of soft compound tyres on. Will he be able to steal that fastest point away from Liam Lawson? Of course, that fastest point isn't applicable to anyone at the moment because Lawson is outside the top 10. You only get that extra point if you're in the top 10. And all that Charles really needs to do is keep it within track limits here through the stadium section, which I believe he has done. He will finish in P3, and Charles losing, unfortunately, that position to Lando Norris. A great save for him regardless. Gets across the line and steals that fastest lap point at the end. Red Bull deployed Lawson for that fastest lap to take away from Lando Norris, and well, Charles Leclerc, with that free pit stop he had, takes it instead, and that could be all important in this Constructors Championship, which is still up for grabs with Ferrari. Ferrari have now overtaken Red Bull. They are in second place in the championship standings. Lando Norris does get that gap to Max Verstappen under 50 points now with 4 race weekends remaining. Lewis Hamilton finishes in P4, up 2 positions from him. A good race from Lewis, getting ahead of his teammate George Russell, once again showing that he is supreme on tyre management compared to his teammate Max Verstappen. Damage limitation from him, finishing P6 after that 20-second time penalty, ladies and gentlemen, which I do highly advise you to go and watch the highlights because it got very, very tasty between McLaren of Lando Norris and Max Verstappen in the Red Bull at the start of this race. Kevin Magnussen, great result for K-Mag in P7. Nico Hulkenberg also in P9, a double points finish for the Haas team again, further extending their points advantage over RB. They overtook them in Kota last week. They are now extended that with Yuki Tsunoda going out at the first corner, not even at the first corner, and Liam Lawson finishing in P16. Oscar Piastri, a good recovery from him in P8, but you do think if he had a better qualifying, he could have put his car in between Lando and Verstappen and put an extra place in between them. I reiterate it, worst teammate at the moment on the grid, not what Lando Norris needs, because that advantage for for Lando over Max Verstappen could be even more. But regardless, we saw some great overtakes from Piastri. and he finished in P9. Pierre Gasly, those updates worked and finally gets the result he deserves, finishing in P10, getting a point. Lance Stroll, not too bad from him, finishing in P11. Aston Martin's best result for quite some time, but of course not where they want to see themselves. We can see Colapinto in P12, good recovery from him, just finishing outside the points. Some good overtakes from him out on circuit. Esteban Ocon in P13, Bottas P14, Zhou 15th, Lawson 16th, Perez 17th, Alonso decided to go to bed early in P18. Albon in P19, of course, having that crash with Yuki Tsunoda down into the first corner. And that is the end of your Mexico Grand Prix, guys. I would say that actually wasn't too bad of a Mexican Grand Prix. That was much, much more eventful than it usually is. But a big thank you to everyone for tuning into this stream. If you could hit that subscribe button, it'd be much appreciated. Let's get this. If you haven't already, surely there are less than 500. Surely there's 450 of you in here who haven't hit that subscribe button. It would really mean so much to me, guys. Much appreciated. Of course, stay tuned for kind of our post-race discussion, which we always have. I want your guys' questions as always, and no doubt there's going to be a few of them. I'm going to put a post on the community page on my channel. I want you guys to give me your questions about this race. I'll be putting a video together for you guys tomorrow. Of course, no doubt you'll be wanting to know about Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen and Lando Norris again. There was lots of incidents today to discuss. Let me just copy and paste this, and it'll be great to get your questions. We stay tuned. Of course, we'll listen to some of the interviews from the teams to see exactly what they have to say. I'm intrigued, of course, to hear Max Verstappen, what he thinks of those penalties. Of course, this time around, he was on the receiving end of those people utilising those rules. So, guys, please head to the community page here where I want your questions. Head over there and drop your questions in to the chat. Drop them in there, and we will do a video tomorrow. I gifted a membership. Thank you, Miley. Much appreciated. Actually, you know what? I have some gifted members to give out as well. So I'm going to chuck a few of these out. I still have some more. So big thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Thank you for all the subs. Hang on. And give me a second. There we go. 5 gifted subs by myself, because I don't ever give you guys anything. Given, Oliver, Leo, Peter, and Steve-O. Welcome to the pit crew, guys. Welcome to the pit crew. Thank you for the gifted member Miley. Much appreciated. And welcome TCC, who was gifted the membership. Thank you, guys. Wow. What a race, eh? What a race. Good call. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, much appreciated. What Red Bull is doing is diabolical to the sports. How did Kevin finish ahead of Oscar? Because he had a very good race. You got to remember, Oscar started back in P18, 19. So, my pleasure, Leo. My pleasure. My pleasure, Steve-O. No, my pleasure, Joby. Yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. If you'd like to join the channel, you can hit the become a member. You can hit the join button and join for less than the price of a coffee, and you get a nice membership badge, and it just helps support me as well, and it really does bring me closer. Every subscriber, every like, every membership brings this closer for this to become my full-time job, because at the moment it isn't. I'd love for it to be, and I'd love to make content around F1 and sim racing my full-time career. So yeah, big thank you guys to keep tuning in. So please give 5 more. Unfortunately, that's all I have available, Manu. All I have available. And they're random as well. I don't get to choose who they go to, unfortunately. So I think Oscar started hard. He would have been higher. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think they was expecting Oscar maybe to gain a few more positions. I think they expected Oscar to start I think they expected the drivers around him to start on the hards, and he would then use that grip advantage he had on the mediums to get past them, but that didn't really happen, really. So thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you. I'm the GOAT. Thanks. Feel bad for Checo. Lawson shafted him. I don't think Lawson did shaft him, to be honest. I think actually they left racing room, and I mean, I need to see it again, this whole ahead of the apex bullshit. I don't like the rule. I mean, it was interesting to see drivers use that, particularly against Max today. Lando did. It backfired on Max today. Perez tried to do it a few times. I think he got away with it, to be fair. Maybe because they were already sorry for him. Because he'd already had a 5-second time penalty for his start, for his full start. But yeah. Red Bull taking 2 teams ruins the fun of F1. Yeah, I mean, look, I still stand by that they would have pitted Lawson anyway, even without that front wing damage, onto the set of softs. I think it's unfortunate. I said, fortunately for RB is that, and Red Bull is that they'll be able to say they had to come in and change the front wing. That will be their excuse. But I was just waiting for them to come in and pit. Lawson, we've seen it a number of times with RB, and look, Charles Leclerc ended up taking that fastest lap in the end. We'll have a look at the Constructors' Championship and see how that has changed the standings. Ferrari have overtaken the Red Bull team now. They were only 5 points behind, and of course with Max being the only driver to finish in the points and in 6th nonetheless, Ferrari are considerably ahead of Red Bull now. But Red Bull might be not too fussed about that because they'll want the additional time, won't they? They'll want the additional wind tunnel time that comes with finishing further down in the Constructors. But yes, we'll have a look at how that's affected things, and of course the championship as well. I believe, if my maths is correct, Lando has taken 10 points out of Max, but that's still only 5 points gained from what was the gap at the start of the summer break, because he lost 5 points last week at Kota. So just a little bit back from the 11 points that he needs average, maybe even 12 points average that he needs per race weekend over Max. But yeah, Norris needs Piastri there, and he needs to ensure that he can put it on par and win the next couple of races, all the sprint races really. Charles was not fit in the car this weekend. Yeah, he definitely got outperformed by Sainz. His tyres were falling off towards the end, and that's where Lando Norris was much better on those hards, and it noticed. He just chipped away, and then Leclerc really got caught up in the Leclerc got really caught up, didn't he, in the traffic, and then started to make some errors with his rear tyres starting to fall off. Just in the replay now, it's weird because he was ahead at the apex, forced him off, then was off the track, then in my opinion rejoined into him. What, Liam Lawson? I'll have a look. I'd like to see Max at Merc. Where's he got to keep it clean? Yeah, so there is a rumour, and it's come from one of these sources, one of these pages on Twitter that I take with a very pinch of salt, any kind of rumour. But they've said, supposedly, there is a performance clause in Max's contract for Red Bull that if he's less than 3rd in the Drivers' Championship next season, he will be able to leave Red Bull. So I don't know at what point in the championship in what point in the season that would mean he'd be able to get out of his contract. I mean, if he's not in the top 3 after the first race, I can't imagine it's like that where he can then go, yeah, I'm off. I imagine there'd be a certain amount of races he has to do, and if he's not in the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship by that point, then he can get out of his contract. That's very interesting, because he doesn't really have a car at the moment to consistently win races over a race distance. A sprint race, of course, he did, but yeah, that'd be intriguing. I think we will see Max probably leave Red Bull if they don't become dominant next year. No, thank you, Jason. Much appreciated. Max finally got what he deserves. I mean, it was just nice to see the racing rules be applied to Max as well, because I feel like, yes, he does get more rub of the green when it comes to the racing rules. I think he should have had a penalty last week. I don't want to go over old ground, but he also, while defending, well, technically he became the attacking car, and he regardless, he ran off track himself and he maintained his position as well. The racing guidelines state that even if you're defending, even if they deem Max to be the defending car on the inside, where he's ahead at the apex, he still has to stay within track limits, and he should have also got a penalty for that as well, but he didn't. So yeah, it was just very interesting today, very interesting, and it was interesting to see not just Max and Lando go for it, but number of drivers at the start clearly took that to heart, those racing guidelines and what's been discussed over the past week, and they had a driver briefing discussing the racing guidelines this week as well, as 10-second time penalty for Colapinto at the end of the race for causing a collision on Liam Lawson, which damaged a bit of his front wing. So maybe he wasn't ahead at the apex, but we saw a number of drivers try and utilize that rule today of being ahead at the apex and lunging for it. And surely the FIA will look at this and go, yeah, we can't have this anymore. I mean, it makes things interesting, but it removes wheel-to-wheel racing. It removes multiple corner racing. It just ensures that we've only got one corner racing, which is what we don't want to see. So, I mean, I don't want to see that. They're in the cool-down room, but at the moment, Corinne Chandhook is interviewing Zach Brown, and they're not playing the sound from Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris talking, which is a shame. I don't want to hear from Zach Brown. I want to hear the drivers. Well, F1 got what they wanted to show. Yeah, that's it in the day, Murray. I don't know why I said turn 8 twice. Yeah, let's do driver of the day, actually. Driver of the day poll. Thank you for the subs, guys. Much appreciated. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Let's get this channel to 32,000 subs. Go on, you can do it. Driver of the day. Who do we say? We can say. I think Sainz should be driver of the day. I think I'm not going to give Piastri driver of the day. I'm not sure he deserves it because he should have been. I mean, he just had a really quick car anyway. I don't know, really. I think it's really difficult. I think for me, it's just comfortably Sainz. You could maybe say Norris for driving the way he did. I'm going to say maybe Magnussen. And I will put Piastri because the only other driver I can think of. I don't think anyone else outside of that deserves it. So, but for me, it's Carlos Sainz. I think that was just a brilliant drive from him. A brilliant drive. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. 55% straight to Sainz. Please get rid of commentary from pro-British announcers. I hope you're not talking about me. Even though I'm British, I always try to be as objective as possible.
Leo K donated $5 Canadian through Super Chat. Constructors Championship. Does Team Papaya still have the upper hand to win it?
Yes. Yes, they do. However, Piastri needs to pull his finger out of his arse and have a decent qualifying and actually put in those performances that we know he can do, because that's not good enough. That isn't good enough, especially with Ferrari in the form that they're in, and it looks like they're ending the season very strong. And Piastri needs to be there, not just for Lando, but for the constructors now. McLaren need to give Piastri a kick up the arse and go, we're being hunted down here and we can lose this. We'll have a look at the championship standings in a second just to see what that looks like. I need to wait for them all to update, but yeah. You follow me on Insta, Steve? Oh, thank you. Why would Max be driver of the day? He started Peter. How did I type Magnussen? I did type Magnussen. Well, I can't think of anything else. I can't think of anyone else, really. I think anyone outside... I think, really, Carlos Sainz is just the pure driver of the day. Mercedes didn't really do anything. That was in a race of their own. Piastri, I don't think, deserves it. I don't think anyone who's in a car that should be starting in the top 5, arguably the front row, should get driver of the day for going out in Q1 and just finishing in the points. Because they're in a much more superior car. and they should be doing that anyway. I don't think that's ever a driver of the day performance. Hence why I don't really subscribe to Sergio Perez or never making it through to Q2 and then finishing in the points as well and getting driver of the day performances. For me, it's Carlos Sainz, I think. Carlos Sainz, so... Who is Magnussen? I apologise if I've spelt Magnussen wrong. Okay? You know what I mean. Do I think... Sorry, someone said about Haas. Best podium in the whole year. Yeah, it's pretty cool there. As much as I don't like the stadium section for racing, it is the best podium of the year, really, isn't it? Other than maybe Monza. Monza's cool, isn't it? Monza's pretty cool, the Tifosi, so... Max did the most overtakes. In my opinion, Piastri should be doing a lot better because he has the car to do... Yeah, I mean, look, he's just in a dip of form at the moment. We know what he's capable of. I stand by what I said in my video yesterday and what I stand by I said at the start of the stream. He is a poor teammate at the moment. You can't deny that. He is not... When he's performing well, he takes points away from Lando. And then when he performs poorly, he finishes behind his championship rival. He isn't finishing in between Lando and Max. So he's not taking any points. He's not assisting his teammate in any way. And now he's also not assisting the team in their Constructors' Championship. Now, I mean, yes, he recovered today and he finished P8, but he had an opportunity to easily finish ahead of Max today and potentially take the fight to the Ferraris and ensure that they maintained a comfortable lead in the Constructors. But he's down in 8th and only picks up 3 points. So, Italian Anthem's probably the best national anthem. Yeah, I think so. Italian national anthem's really got a... Like, I always like jig to it, you know? So... unironically, your driver of the day is K-Mag. Yeah, I mean, look, K-Mag's done brilliantly, considering he was unfortunate not to get points last week at Circuit of the Americas due to, of course, that slow puncture that they picked up and he had to pit. He was ahead of Hulkenberg. He's finished... In the last two race weekends, he's had the better of Hulkenberg. So he's done really well, K-Mag. He really has, and it was a great drive from him today. He really had good pace. I mean, early on, he was really staying with the Mercedes, and then I think he kind of just dropped back, realising the Mercedes on his race, and he just ran his own race and looked after his tyres, and no doubt his car as well. So Piastri like Katy Perry, hot and cold. Gunther first driver for Mert next season. You think you'll win the Gunther? You'll be attending Vegas. Oh well, Miley, have a good one. Have a good one. Don't lose your house in Vegas, yeah, though. No, enjoy it, buddy. Enjoy it. Well, I mean, there's still a race between now and Vegas. We go to Interlagos next week. And, of course, we're in the middle of our triple header at the moment. Interlagos is a sprint race weekend, so remember that, guys. And Interlagos is a cracker. It is so good for racing. And, yeah, as we know, the whole ahead of the Apex bullshit, I'm going to call it that, is currently in full flow as drivers are properly taking that literally as we saw today, and I reckon we are going to see it's going to be exactly the same for the remainder of this season as well. The strategy of Piastri could be slightly better, but he couldn't even catch Magnussen on newer tyres. Yeah, no, but the gap was quite large, you got to think, to Magnussen at the time. So Russian Anthem is the best, so you're not Russian. Yeah, that has a bit of a jig to it as well. It's a great day to be a Carlos fan. Yeah, not bad. Interlagos is amazing, Taka. I totally agree. Not the best weekend as a McLaren fan, but hopefully Piastri wakes up and next weekend we could get the double podium. It is, 8 boys, it is. Right, so I'm going to try and see if I can find, guys, the updated Constructors' Championship standings. You know what? Does this have... Ah, here we go. Hang on a second. I've always wondered where this was. Ooh. So, The gap now. So, Lando Norris has gained, confirmed, 10 points on on Max Verstappen today. So that gap now to him is, I think, 47 points to Max Verstappen. So if I go to my calculator, that is a difference there of 362, take away 315 equals 47. Yep. Divide by 4 means he still needs that average is slightly increased, guys. He needs 11.75 points over Max Verstappen in the last 4 race weekends to even catch him, to be fair. To overtake him, he'll need more than that as it currently stands. If we look at Charles Leclerc as an example, if you're still hoping that Charles Leclerc can win this championship, 362 take away 291 means he has 71 points difference. Divide by 4 means he still needs 17.75 points in the last 4 race weekends. But let's have a look at the gap. My maths is not great off the bat. So 566 take away 537. 29 points is the difference between Ferrari and McLaren. That is close. That is close, ladies and gentlemen. That is very close. Oof. Watch Max get more desperate as the points come down. Max will get worse. I mean, he's still got him covered. He'll probably think those are all bullshit. Those penalties. He's entitled to think that, but the rules have been applied correctly as they're written. I don't like them, but that's as the rules are written. And yeah, I mean, if there is a real big chunk of points taken out next weekend in the sprint and, of course, the main race, then, yeah, maybe. Maybe, of course, there'll be more pressure applied. It's all Lando can keep doing. Lando can't win it. I still think Lando won't win it now. I think that gap is too big. He has to win the sprint. He has to win both races next week. He has to. So that he maximises the points difference. If he won both races next week and Max finishes second in both races, then that's 1 point advantage in the sprint, and then that would be 17 points. So it'd be 18 points advantage he would gain. 18 points? No. It's 12 point difference, isn't it? So it would be 13 points he would gain. So it's still not enough, is it really? So Leclerc winning is in dreamland, yeah. You hope he sends it turn 1. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Honestly, it may hurt Ferrari having less wind tunnel time for 2026. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they clearly sorted out their issues. And look where they are. You could arguably say they're the strongest team at the moment. Sainz had... I mean, I think overall, McLaren and Ferrari were probably neck and neck in performance. Sainz's lap times were very consistent, or the same as Lando Norris. I know Norris caught Sainz towards the end, but Sainz was overtaking traffic. He had a comfortable gap to Norris. He's not going to go and push the car and just focus on beating Lando Norris's lap times. And of course, if you're in the lead and you have a sizable advantage at the front, you still want to save some tyres in case there is a safety car, in case there is a red flag. And of course, a red flag, you're able to change tyres anyway. But you know what I mean? If there's a VSC or a safety car, you're able to ensure you've still got enough life in your tyres, rather than just trying to extend a ridiculous gap at the front, which then means you're down on tyre performance on the restart. I do have to agree, Sep. Yeah, I do have to agree. I think Max is... That is kind of... He has... Let's put it this way. He has had the rules applied to him correctly in the past when it comes to these racing regulations. Vegas was kind of the last time, I think it was. He was told to give that... Well, I think Red Bull told him to give that back to position. I'm not sure if he got a penalty for it. But this is where, yeah, kind of like in recent memory where he has been penalised correctly with these racing rules. I think in times past he has been let off. Norris needs to out-qualify Max, otherwise he has no chance of winning any race behind Max. I agree, Gunnar, yeah. I do agree. Yeah, he needs to sort out his qualifying, he needs to put it on pole. And he does need his teammate. And look, at the end of the day, we all know this championship should be a lot closer than it is. And that's down to Lando. That's partly down to McLaren. They've let themselves down. That's why it's so close in the constructors now as well. I mean, I'll say it again. It'll be unforgivable if McLaren don't win this championship. This Constructors' Championship. Like, because they've arguably, you could say, they kind of gave up. They never really truly thought they could win the World Drivers' Championship with Lando, which is why they never enforced team orders and so forth, and they didn't let Lando keep the position at Hungary, and why they didn't like swap positions even in Monza and so forth, or in part team orders there. They were fully focused on the constructors, and now that gap's to 29 points. Next weekend, Ferrari could be ahead of McLaren with 3 race weekends remaining. That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. What do I think about Max's penalty? I think they were both correct, as per the rules, Rodney. Lando was ahead at the apex. Into turn 4, Max shoved him off. It's a penalty. Into turn 8, Max sent it down the inside, was ahead at the apex. Oh, what's happened there? My connection gone? Is my connection still here? Am I good? Am I good? Are we still here, guys? Can you hear me? I'm here? Okay, cool. I don't know why my YouTube thing is spinning around, so that's just me. Okay, cool. I got a bit freaked out there. What was I saying? Yeah, sorry. Then Max basically sent it into turn 8. He did basically what we are worried, what the drivers have concerns about in regards to this rule, where it's all about the apex. It doesn't matter if you're out of control of the car. So Max sent it down the inside at turn 8. Technically was ahead at the apex, but because he forced Lando off circuit and was considerably also off the race circuit into turn 8, he himself went off and he maintained the position. He gained an advantage, so that was also a penalty. So all we saw today really was drivers using the rules to as they're written, but it just showed how ridiculous it is and the concerns of the drivers about this rule in the first place. So if Ferrari get a 1-2 next week, then things change. Exactly, Joel. Exactly. So, and nearly caused a massive crash. Exactly that as well. I keep saying exactly, but yeah, I mean that's why I don't like these rules. And I think every other motorsport series has rules in place where if you're if you have your rear wheels alongside the car ahead that you're trying to overtake, or alongside, you're entitled to room. That's basically how, whether you're on the inside or the outside. The rule still states that the car needs to be, the overtaking car needs to have their car, or their front axle up by the mirrors of the car they're trying to overtake. So you're basically talking about the cockpit, or the front end of the cockpit, just behind the front wheels, the front axle of the defending car, which is ridiculous, really. I think because if you've got your wheels alongside their rear axle, I think that's enough to warrant racing room, and that happens in every other motorsport series as well. But for F1, only F1 could make overtaking complicated. Really, it should be quite simple. So it's over-regulation, really. Managed the same thing last weekend, but twice, and more blatantly, and this time got punished. If I inconsistent, removed the head on the ape. Yeah, and I think that's just kind of what this race has shown. But however, the rules today, and not just for Max, and Lando, there was other incidents today. The rules were applied consistently today. That's the good thing. So whether we can dislike the rules, but as long as they're applied consistently, that's what I think most of us can get behind. So Max don't pick his battles, he'll go flying like he did at Silverstone. Well, no, he did pick his battles because his battle is with Lando ultimately. I don't think he would try and make a rash move like that on Charles Leclerc or Carlos Sainz, because that move isn't for him. Now, Max did get ahead at the apex into turn 1 and force and run basically Sainz out of room, which he's legally allowed to do as per the racing rules. And that wasn't anything brash because he was comfortably ahead of Sainz into that corner. Sainz took to the runoff and then gave the position back to Max. But yeah, if that was anyone but Lando, I think Max probably wouldn't respond in that way. So, do I think Sauber has a chance to get a point this year? No. Bottas is 23rd in a 20-car championship. But Haas there, look, an additional 8 points for them. 46 points. I'm surprised they're so far behind Aston Martin, actually. I guess that's down to Alonso getting some decent results. Could Haas catch Aston Martin before the end of the season, guys? What do you think? Do you think Haas could catch Aston Martin on their form? It's a fair chunk of points for them to catch, though, isn't it? It almost needs to be taken case by case with consistent stewards that know what they're doing. Yeah, that would help as well, Taco. 19 drivers don't seem to have issues pushing drivers into the shallow realm. No, it's not enough. It's not enough. You can't remember a previous 20-second penalty. Well, technically it was 2 penalties, but with 10 seconds each. Listening to Christian Horner now. Let's see what Christian Horner has to say. It was as per the rules last week. Was it as per the rules this week? Let's see his assessment. I want to hear his assessment. Max didn't leave the track at turn 4. Well, he wasn't ahead of the apex, you dick. Now it's a problem. Of course, Horner. Now Max is on the receiving end. Now it's a problem with these rules. We have to be worried about dive bombs and so forth. I really want to use a strong word if it isn't suitable for YouTube. Make your minds up what word that would be, guys. Make your mind. I'm going to say he's a massive hypocrite. But there's another word that I could use. Yeah. K-Mag racked up some penalties in one race this year. Yes, Camo. Yes, Camo. Yes, Kelly. Yeah, they're just such hypocrites, aren't they? Just such hypocrites. Max didn't run Lando off at turn 4. Or no, sorry, Max didn't go off track at turn 4, is what he said. Yeah, but he ran Lando out of room when he wasn't ahead at the apex, so he wasn't in. So he had to leave room to. So the car ahead at the apex was entitled to that room. And then he's worried about dive bombs. Well, Max did the dive bomb into turn 8. Am I anti-Red Bull? I'm not totally anti-Red Bull. I just don't like... I think it's a toxic team. I think Horner is toxic. I think Helmut Marko is toxic. I've never liked Helmut Marko. To be honest, Helmut Marko is a racist. I've said it. I think he's very fortunate to still be where he is. And I think if anyone else had made the comments that he's made in the past, they would be cancelled and fired. And people just go, oh, it's Marko. He's an old guy. And then Max, I don't like Max's dad. And I think Max, I'm not Max's biggest fan, but I do think Max is a product of his environment. And I think when he's around these people, I think he's a character that I don't like. When he's on stream and he's with his friends, he's a character that I do like. And that's the Max that I like. And I think in this F1 environment, surrounded by those people, I don't think I don't like that character of Max, and that's why I don't like Red Bull. Basically, I just think it's a toxic team. Well, those individuals make it toxic. I'm sure there's some very nice people that work in the team, and I quite like Perez. I do like Perez. I think he's a nice guy. I don't think he's good enough to be in that car. I've liked Albon, I like Pierre Gasly, I've liked Daniel Ricciardo, I've liked Vettel, I like people that have come through that team. And I can't say I've never really supported them because I've always supported other drivers instead of who have been in that Red Bull team. But yeah, in the past few recent years, I've not liked the way that they've gone about their business in F1. And I do think they've stoked a lot of the flames of the toxicity that we now see online. I think a lot of it has kind of started from them, and I do think kind of that explosion happened in 2021, and I think it particularly started at Silverstone with the crash between Verstappen and Hamilton. And I think if you go back and look look back at it, then they really stoked the flames online, and it just it just hasn't really. It just hasn't. The toxicity hasn't really come back from that since 2021, and that's not to say that people on Lewis Hamilton's side are faultless as well. I mean, I've had people. You criticise any driver now, any driver, and it's fair criticism, you'll get attacked online. You will. Every driver's got a fan base, and they've got individuals that will support them and see that they cannot do no wrong, even though you're objectively or constructively criticising them. And no one is above criticism, myself included. And it's, as like content creators, and there's also like me just putting I'll always give my opinion, I'll always give praise where it's due, and I'll also criticise where it's due as well. And you will still get people absolutely attack you online, regardless of who you decide to criticise. Even Lance Stroll, there are die-hard Lance Stroll fans out there. Yes, believe it or not, there are. So yeah, everyone else takes their penalties with grace, even for less. I mean, I think Max actually just got interviewed and I missed his comments. I don't think he had too much to say, to be honest with you. Literally exactly why I'm put off by Red Bull Racing. Yeah, and it's one of the main reasons why I'm put off by them as well. So yeah, that's why he's a 3-times world champion, due to these people. Yes, to an extent, yeah, because they've never said no to him, Frank. They've very much enabled him, and you have to respect to an extent, how they've gone about. They've been so ruthless in ensuring that Max Verstappen has become a world champion, with the lobbying of like Michael Massey and so forth, and what happened in 2021, and then of course making his dad being ruthless to make him the driver he is now. You could arguably say that if Max didn't have the upbringing he did, he might not be the ruthless driver that he is, and as good as he is. Not saying that's how you bring up a child and it's correct or not, but yeah. You was kicked off Planet F1 for supporting Lewis. Overpunished, what about when he's got away with that? And fair, it was more than deserved, and was the right punishment meted out to him. What, today? Yeah, I mean, I think everyone today got the right penalty dished out. Colapinto included, with Liam Lawson. He got the correct penalty dished out to him. Like, it was consistent today, and that's all we ask for in F1, is consistency in the application of the rules. And we haven't seen that. In particular, Max Verstappen. It just happens to be that Max Verstappen, over the last 3-4 years, has been fighting for world championships, and he has been at the front of these contentious issues. And he's been at the forefront of these inconsistent rulings. And that's all people want, is consistent ruling, so that we know when we see an incident, and we know exactly what's going to happen. And also, we want to see more fair and competitive racing. So I'm a Red Bull fan, always have and will be since they started in F1 with Webber and Coulthard. They great team with good stuff, but I think they got away with too much hate for 2021 for what FIA did, not them. Yes, I mean, I don't know. I still stand by that they played into the toxicity online, and then they kind of played into the whole, oh, it's British bias, the media's against us, I mean, they basically said Lewis Hamilton tried to kill Max Verstappen in Silverstone. You go back and actually look back at Christian Horner and Helmut Marko and Jos Verstappen's comments after that race, and the social media posts they made, and the statements. Like, I get it was in probably heat at the moment, but they properly stoked the flames there, and really they made unacceptable comments. And it just spiraled from there, really. It just got worse and worse. And I mean, Max has even just made comments recently about, I've clearly got the wrong, like about last week, I've clearly got the wrong passport. About people complaining about him not getting a penalty and maybe the ruling being unfair and it being inconsistent. And he stated about, I've got the wrong passport. Basically insinuating about British bias again. And it's just, I'm just tired of this whole British bias stuff. Like, have you ever listened to a Dutch broadcast? Ziggo TV? Jesus Christ, talk about bias. Italian TV with Ferrari, French TV with Alpine and supporting Gasly and Ocon. I mean, I get because Sky Sports is the main worldwide broadcaster for F1. That's obviously why it gets a lot more flack and there's more British bias. But yeah, it's just that's stoking the flames in itself as well, and stoking a bit of toxicity online, which we know happens. So, hey Princey, good to see you. I mean, he's sounded all right, but he's not liked because of the things he does on track. Yeah, and I think it's the response to those as well. But then you look at Max away from track, and he's a great guy. He's a guy that you would like to hang around with and spend some time with, and that's the difference. Like, you know, some people are very different in their work environment, and then they're very different with their friends. That's just how it is, isn't it? So, no, 22 and 23, there were no incidents with Max, really. Yeah, because he was so far ahead. So, kind of, David. Yeah, really. And they knew what the outcry of response would be. But Lewis Hamilton's fans have been pretty shit as well. Like the whole Team LH stuff. Like, I don't subscribe to any of that either. Like, they're just as bad. And then you've got Alonso fans are just as bad. I've been on the receiving end of some Piastri fans recently. So there's all of them out there. Checo fans as well. Every driver's got that group, but the more popular drivers have a bigger group and they're louder, aren't they? So, Adrian Newey put it well, where he was saying how mad he was about Lewis Max in 2021, and later now he understands what happened. Yeah, they threw stones, then hid their hands, and then played victim. Red Bull was like, I mean, I just think it's no coincidence that Adrian Newey and Jonathan Wheatley are leaving that team in the same year. They're two long-term employees at the team. They're core personnel at that Red Bull team and how it operates, and they're leaving in the same year. In the same year with the scandal with Christian Horner at the start, with the power struggle that's been going on, and he's still continuing to go on behind the scenes between the Matterschwitz family and the Thai side of the company that holds a majority stake there, 51% or 52% they own. So it's clearly not a good morale behind the scenes at Red Bull. So Brazil 2020, yeah, I mean, that's the only time he really had wheel-to-wheel racing, and he decided to drive straight into side of Lewis. I mean, it was just so. Why does everything think all Max's penalties are harsh when he is such a dirty driver? He rammed Lewis at 2022 for no reason. Again, battles. I think there's been times where he's been dirty, yes. I think with these racing rules, I think, as I've mentioned before, they were changed to this whole ahead at the apex thing was to accommodate Max's style of driving, where he would just send it down the inside. And it's basically ahead at the apex rule is basically just to cover the attitude of either you move or we're crashing attitude. That is basically what it is, that style of driving. And then they changed it to make it a legitimate move, which is bullshit. Like, someone sends it into the apex. I mean, there's plenty of times. I mean, people hark back to the move of Lewis. So 2021 Abu Dhabi first lap, Max Verstappen sends it down the inside into the apex at the end of the main straight, and forces Lewis Hamilton off the circuit. Now Max stays on the circuit, but Max actually wasn't ahead at the apex. Lewis Hamilton was. And everyone said at the time, Martin Brundle included, Lewis needs to give that position back. Well, actually, no, because technically speaking, Lewis is ahead at the apex. But if Lewis continued to turn into that apex, which he was ahead at, he would have turned straight into Max Verstappen. And we all knew that Max was ahead on countback because he won one more race. So he could afford to end up out of the race with both of them to have DNFs. And I hate that attitude and that style of racing. And we should have I just don't see why you can't leave racing room. I mean, why is it so difficult? It's a simple fucking solution. Every other motorsport series in the world deals with it like this, except F1. Ridiculous. And it's because they've used it to accommodate Max's driving, because they wanted a new world champion. They were fed up with the Mercedes dominance and they wanted Max as a new world champion. And they've still given the benefit to Max, even when he's had a quicker car than everyone else. It's just, But now it seems like it's coming back around and common sense is coming back into it. But we'll see. We'll see. F1 is about the limits of the rules triad. Yeah, and Max is only... And I don't blame Max to an extent, because while the rules have been to accommodate his driving, it was down to the FIA to stop him from driving like that and saying, no, that's not how we go racing. That's not the racing rules. But they changed the rules to accommodate his style of driving. So why would you not continue to drive like that? And the other drivers have... That's not how they go driving. That's not how they've ever gone racing. So when they go wheel to wheel, they leave room. They've never really done this, send it straight into the apex and force the other driver off the circuit. Yes, if they think they're sufficiently far enough ahead, they drive to the racing line and then the move is done. There is a point where the overtaking car, the move is done, and the car who's on the outside has to realise, look, that the move is completed, and they have to back out of the corner. There is a time when that happens. But this whole just dive into the inside and just sending it, we crash, or you move or we crash sort of attitude was accommodated for. And if that's going to be accommodated for, then yeah, Max has done nothing wrong, and the rest of the grid on the F1 have struggled to adapt to that. And it seems it's finally got in their heads, actually, that's how we have to go racing. And they've kind of shown today how ridiculous those rules are. We saw the penalties dished out, and the rules will now be revised. So... sometimes you can't lose racing room when taking the quickest line. Yeah, I mean, look, racing is fluid, overtaking is fluid. And as I just mentioned, there are times where, yes, the defensive car has to realise the move is done. Like, I'm not going to hold into that position and you have to back out. I get that. But it should be you have to leave, basically, yeah, racing room the majority of times, you know? Like, every other driver, every other racing series is able to manage it efficiently, except for F1, so... Imagine if Max was not... Oh, we'd still have plenty to talk about, Sibu. We still have plenty to talk about, don't you worry. Take a talk for one reason, mud tyres on the cars, flat track, yeah. I think then Judge 97 kind of idea would be put in place where, like, if someone is blatantly at fault for a crash, that determined the world driver, they'd be disqualified. Yeah, I mean, that was an intentional move, though, wasn't it? That was an intentional right hand down by Schumacher, wasn't it? Perez 97 is Schumacher, Villeneuve is what you're talking about. Yeah, no, that was an intentional move that still would be disqualified today. That was just dirty by Schumacher, and he rightfully got disqualified. Yeah, but that was the last race of the season, wasn't it? If my memory serves me correctly. So, today's drivers, they've become such wussies they'd never survive wheel-to-wheel driving in Schumacher's time. Don't know, we'll never know. Just saw a Max penalty document has been recalled from FIA's website. Is it actually? Today was them showing how the rules are vague. I mean, not necessarily showing how the rules are vague, they're just showing how stupid the rules are. So, the only way to solve this, in my opinion, is to implement AI stewards or put research and development into it. I don't even think you need that. You just go back to how racing has been for basically all fucking time. So, hang on, just watching now. Yeah, oh no, they're just talking about Sergio Perez's front axle. I mean, that was a definite false start. He's ahead of the front. He's ahead of the line. He's outside of his grid blocks. So, yeah, and look, at the end of the day, Max has still limited the amount of points that Lando has gained on him. Yes, you can see that. You can see that table right there. Lando's still only 40. In these two race weekends, Max has only gained... Lando has only gained 5 points. He lost 5 points last week over the sprint race and the race weekend, and then he has lost... And then he's gained 10 points here. So he's only net 5 points up on these last two race weekends. Not good enough. Not good enough. As we just calculated, Lando needs over 12 points. That 11.7 points that he needs over the remaining of the race weekends average is to get him just level with Max. He needs more than that to get ahead of Max. And Max is just not allowing him to make up that big points advantage. Now, that's partly down to Lando as well. Max is basically saying and doing the job of basically going, I'm not going anywhere. Even in a car that might not be as quick as yours, I'm still going to bring this car to like the top 5. You need to stick it on pole and win. Like, the pressure's on you, man. And Lando's just not doing that. So, too many drivers for the center's ethos. If you want to overtake them, you take a high chance of a crash. The more they have, well, it's the whole like, if you don't go for a gap, you're not a racing driver. But that's just like a bullshit saying, really, as well. But too many people use it as an excuse when they crash. So. Something was clearly found in the McLaren and it was kept quiet. No, I mean, look, they obviously were gaining an advantage, a little bit of an advantage with their rear wing. I think it's more so the fact of the McLaren's... So McLaren apparently still have another upgrade coming. The development... You have to realise the development game has been so up and down this year. I mean, that's why we've had these results. Ferrari clearly sorted out their mid-season issues with that upgrade they bought to Monza, and that's really sorted them out. McLaren are still... I still think McLaren are the quickest car. I think they are. Driver errors by both Piastri and Norris yesterday meant that Norris wasn't at least on the front row. He should have maybe been on pole as well. I do believe Norris could have got P1 yesterday, or pole position, and at least been very, very close to Carlos Sainz's lap times. That's not to take anything away from Sainz, but Norris just made an error. He made an error in his Q1 run, in his first run in Q3, and then that was just uncharacteristically slow from Lando in his last run as well. Especially the first sector, he lost quite a bit of time there, and then you're just chasing lap time after obviously not having the tyres in probably an optimum window. Piastri, the same thing as well. We know obviously what happened with him. So yeah, Ferrari have definitely caught up. Verstappen, the Red Bull is better than it was before the break. It's improved over a single lap, but it's not as bad as the Ferrari over race pace. If you remember, the Ferrari last year or the year before was quick over a single lap, but then it was terrible over a race distance because it shredded its tyres. The Red Bull isn't as bad as that, but it's not as good as the Ferrari and the McLaren's over a race distance on its tyres yet. So, yeah, that's basically kind of the order. And Mercedes is clearly the fourth fastest car. So now Max needs to stay ahead of Piastri in order not to get torpedoed by my logic. Yeah. Yeah. Because other drivers can use the same... Yeah, that's the way the rule is, Triad. It is ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. Anyone can torpedo. Anyone can just send it into the apex. And as long as they keep it on track themselves, they'll... Well, I mean, not necessarily like that, but basically we're getting to the point of where, yes, as long as... All that matters is that you're ahead of the apex. That's what matters. And if you force the... I mean, we're still yet to kind of see, really, if... it would have been interesting to see if Lando... If Lando gained the position back on Max off track, whether or not he would have been penalised for gaining an advantage, even though Max ran off track himself. So the whole issue with last week, really, was that Max sent it down on the inside. So basically, he rolled off the brakes, made sure he was ahead at the apex, even though Lando was ahead into the braking zone, and technically pulled off an overtake. He was ahead. But Max rolled off the brakes, forced Lando out wide, and ran off track himself. But then Lando gained the position off track. Now, really, as per the racing guidelines, Max should have been given a penalty for that, but he wasn't. And then this is what the drivers have issued concerns about, is that, well, basically, based upon that ruling last week, or that non-penalty for Max, is that you can just send it down the inside, ensure you're ahead at the apex, force the other driver off the racing surface. You go off the racing surface yourself, and the other driver, even if they were ahead, but because of the apex, that's all that matters, and they either retain the position or they regain the position because they've overtaken off track, you then don't get that penalty. And that's what drivers are concerned about, and that's what we don't want to see, because it just is just bullshit, isn't it? It's just not racing. So, but today we didn't see that. We didn't see anyone. They sent it down the inside, but anyone who got a penalty. So, I mean, Max wasn't ahead at the apex. Sergio Perez, so Colapinto, I don't think was ahead at the apex, and basically forced Liam Lawson out of racing rooms. I think that's why he also got a penalty. So it mainly goes back to the head of the apex rule, but it's just it is enticing torpedoes, dive bombs down the inside, which is not what we want to see. And then the more times you see that of just focusing on the apex, the less wall-to-wall racing we're going to get, and the more forcing of drivers off the track we're going to get as well. Road to 50k subscribers. Yeah, we're on the way. Slowly but surely. Discussing how biased and unfair the British F1 presenters are. They should remain objective or go do something else. In what sense, Esty? I don't think anyone's been biased today. I think myself, I've been very objective, and I think from what I've heard on Sky F1, they've been objective as well. So... check my previous comment, please. One DNF from Max can turn this championship on its head. Yes, it can. Yeah, of course it can, yeah. He only needs to melt 21 points in 3 races and 2 sprints. 1 DNF from Max, and... yeah, I mean, that is all it takes. That is all it takes, is one poor performance. But, I mean, look at the duration of this season. We haven't seen that from Max. So, I'm only going from the data we have available to us at the moment, and the percentages state that Max isn't going to have a poor weekend. Is he? So... from finishing ahead with 27 to the battling for second, you smell a rat. No, I don't think so. I think there's just certain circuits where the McLaren has definitely been considerably quicker. I think at Singapore as well, I think that gap was accentuated or exaggerated because Ferrari fucked up their qualifying. Charles Leclerc, I think, would have been very close to Lando's pace. Not as quick as Lando, but I think he probably would have finished within 10 seconds of Lando at Singapore if he didn't start in 9th place at Singapore. That was a Ferrari fuck-up. They sent him out on cold tyres because the tyre blankets weren't working. And, yeah, that was just a complete balls up by Ferrari. And they were comfortably quicker than Max, and they should have finished second and third if it wasn't for them being out on cold tyres. So commentators should be completely neutral and biased like the Dutch and Spanish commentators. Rain in Brazil both days. Just go ooh. Well, we know, I mean, Max will be hoping for rain really because he excels, but it does throw up. Anything can happen in the rain, you know. Mercedes are hoping for rain because it means it gives Lewis Hamilton an opportunity, especially at a circuit that he's done very well at in the past. So, but yeah, guys, that's basically it. That is basically it for this stream. What is the time? I've been in here quite a long time, guys. But yeah, I think that was an interesting Mexico Grand Prix. What do you think? What do you guys think? I think that was an interesting Grand Prix. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. Let's just show. I'm going to close all this down, and I just want you guys, I want to show you one more time. I don't know how many comments I've got thus far, but I'd like you guys to head to my page and provide me your questions. Let's see if anyone has left questions. I already have 7 comments, but if you head to my community page, and I'll put a little flag here so that you know. I want your questions. I'm going to answer them in a video tomorrow. It may be something that you listen to on a podcast that you want to ask me. I'll give you my opinion. I'm going to go obviously listen to my Missed Apex podcast. The guys at Missed Apex, go and listen to those guys. They'll be streaming very soon. And yeah, I will answer them in a video tomorrow as I did before. Next time, ask you where you're from. Where are you from, Dusko? Where are you from? Lando didn't completely overtake. Doesn't matter, Sibu. He was ahead at the apex. What matters? That's what matters. This time around, anyway. So, but yeah, look, guys. If you're talking British bias and stuff like that, I will praise Max where I think he deserves the praise. I respect that he's a very talented driver. I respect that he uses the rules and he utilises them. It's about time the other drivers finally got up to speed and used them as well. I think it's taken them a long time to do that. And I will provide criticism where I think it's due as well, regardless of who I prefer and don't prefer. I've criticised this man plenty of times. And I really do like the guy and support the guy, and I want him to do well. But when he's done bad and when he's done poorly, I've criticised him for it. So, and I think that's how it should be, because in the day, like, what's the point of just saying what people want to hear every single time, you know? So, not me, us. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining us. I will put that video out tomorrow, so please leave me your questions. As always, thank you. I think we hit 9,000 viewers today. Peak viewership was, I can see, I think it was like 9,000 viewers or something, or just short of 9,000 viewers. We've got over 118 individual views, 118,000 individual views. So yeah, big thank you, guys. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday, wherever it is. Have a good start to your week. I'll post that video up tomorrow for you, so leave me your questions, and yeah, see you for the next one. Only a few more days again until we do it all again at Interlagos. Sprint race weekend, remember, so that means sprint qualifying on the Friday, sprint race on the Saturday, main qualifying on the Saturday evening after the sprint race, and then of course main race on Sunday. So yeah, have a good one, guys. Thank you for all the subs, thank you for all the memberships, all the likes, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye.